All right, welcome back. So, you all seem to like the Colleen Hoover video. And have I got news for you? I bought like 5 more of her books. You're welcome, Colleen Hoover. You're welcome for that £5. Go buy yourself a packet of crisps. Now, of the books that I bought, I figured that Ugly Love was a good place to start because some of the characters from Ugly Love were mentioned in November 9th. Logic. Of course, do you know what? My brain has repressed November 9th because I cannot remember. I know they were in it. I don't know what happened. Couldn't have been that important. No, do you know what? Let's start off the video on a positive note. Right. Also, follow my new Instagram and I might just follow you back because I am a positive channel. I'm a force for good around here. One point I will give to Hoover is that her books are so simple and easy to read. I can blast through the scripts in a day, within a few days, if I don't get distracted. That includes reading the book while simultaneously screenshotting and writing my script. I can do it so quickly because it's so simplistic. That's a compliment around here, that her books are so easy to read. I can do them fast. Not like Twilight. I've started Breaking Dawn for those of you asking, but the script is already very long, so I figured I'd just, give you a few Hoovers to tide you all over. And yes, I suppose that is more of a backhanded compliment, but any type of compliment around here is considered as rare as Leonardo DiCaprio dating someone older than 25. So you'll take what you can get, Hoover. This video is sponsored by AG1. AG1 is a comprehensive nutritional drink made powerfully simple. It's made up of 75 high-quality whole food sourced ingredients, carefully curated to nourish all of the body's systems. Whether you eat keto, paleo, gluten-free, dairy-free, or vegan, like me, AG1 is suitable and lifestyle-friendly. AG1 is a daily micro-habit that makes it easier for your body to absorb key nutrients. All you need is 1 scoop once a day. It's that simple. If you're like me and you get tired a lot, then I've got some good news for you. Because AG1 provides nutrients and phytonutrients that support and sustain healthy energy levels. I will show you how simple it is. Take 12 ounces of water, about 300 mils. Take your AG1. 1 scoop. Close the lid tight and shake. I always make a mess doing that. Look at that colour. It's the colour of health. Now, the reason I like AG1 so much is because inherently, deep down, I am a lazy person. So if you give me something that's going to have all the B12 I need in a day, well, that's good for me. It also contains dairy-free probiotics that help protect your gut. Gut health is very important. It's linked to the immune system. I'm not a scientist. That's why I'm doing YouTube. But even I know that. And AG1 also supports brain health, which is perfect for me and my ginormous IQ. So, cheers. And just like that, I don't need to eat any vegetables today. For legal reasons, that is a joke. Still eat some broccoli. From the colour, maybe you'd expect it to taste like pureed kale, but it tastes a little bit sweet, actually. Not bad at all. With AG1, I like knowing that my nutritional foundations have been set just from 1 drink in the morning. Try it instead of your daily coffee and see how you feel. So if you're interested in making sure that you're setting yourself up for some good daily micro habits, then check out AG1. Use the special link in my description to get a 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D3 K2 and 5 travel packs free with your first purchase. Thank you, AG1, for sponsoring today's video. Chapter 1, Tate. Right, ways to improve this book so far. Let's give her a better name. How about taint instead? You know, a little bit of skin between the balls and the anus on blokes. That's better than the name Tate. Somebody stabbed you in the neck, young lady. My eyes widen and I slowly turn towards the elderly gentleman standing at my side. He presses the up button on the elevator and faces me. He smiles and points to my neck. Your birthmark, he says. Well, that's none of your business, creepy old man. I smile, but I can't tell if I should be afraid or entertained. That's how I feel about doing these, funnily enough. The parallels. This old man is the guardian of the elevator. I push the button for the elevator, he says. I don't think there's an official title for my position, but I like to refer to myself as flight captain, considering I do send people as high as 20 stories up in the air. I smile at his words, since my brother and father are both pilots. Yeah, that's exactly the same thing. I can't wait for this old man to flying my private jet into the moon. This old bloke is called Cap, of course. Don't say it. Don't say it. No Cap. For real, for real. Stop it. The setting of this book is some rich person's apartment block in San Diego. Some guy gets in the elevator, late 20s, wearing a wedding ring. I thought he was the love interest. I was wrong. Floor 10, he says, without looking away from me. His eyes fall to what little cleavage is peeking out my shirt, and then he looks at the suitcase by my side. I press the button for floor 10. I should have worn a sweater. Colleen Hoover, can you not write a male character who isn't an immediate dick? Who hurt you? He arches his dark, thick eyebrow. It's a nice eyebrow. It's attached to a nice face, which is attached to a nice head, which is attached to a nice body. These words are attached to an annoying sentence, attached to a boring book. That's like apparently how Dan Brown writes. I've never read the Da Vinci Code or anything of Dan Brown, but apparently he writes like that. Should I do the Da Vinci Code? Because I remember there was like a big furore about it when it first came out. A big uproar. Right, I was like 12 when it first came out. And one of my besties, yeah, she's a Christian. I used to go with her to like this Christian youth group. I'm always been agnostic, but whatever. What's my point? Oh yeah, and then the Da Vinci Code came out. And then I was winding her up and we got into an argument about it. So I was like, yeah, Jesus, he probably had like, you know, Mary and Joseph probably banged and then Jesus got... That's... What's it called? Dogma. Yeah, that's the film Dogma. That's what that's about. Da Vinci Code just copied that. Anyway, regardless. The bloke flips her. Apparently YouTube have changed their things, right? So if you're swearing within the first minute, you get demonetized. You joke in YouTube. You joke. This bloke flips her. That's not anything. Flips her some more and knows who she is. Tate gets off. Not in that way. And goes to Corbyn's apartment. No, not Jeremy Corbyn. The other one. Piers Corbyn. Someone is passed out in front of the apartment door. This guy isn't wearing any type of uniform, but I can't help but notice that his jeans and black t-shirt do fit him very nicely. I'm sure you could help it, you weirdo. He's passed out on the floor. Maybe don't ogle him. Reverse those genders. Uproar. Jezza Corbyn is Tate's brother. I'm hoping that things will be different between us now though. Corbyn is 25 and I'm 23, so if we can't get along better than we did as kids, we've got a lot of growing up left to do. I guess that mostly depends on Corbyn and whether he's changed since we last lived together. He had an issue with anyone I dated, all of my friends, every choice I made, even what college I wanted to attend. Inappropriate male sibling boundary overstepping. I already don't care for this person. The drunk guy tries to get into the apartment, so Tate kicks his hand to death and gets him out. Her brother Corbyn rings Miles, his neighbour, who is obviously going to be the jackass from the elevator. Nope, I was wrong. Incredibly rare, Alizee L. I was wrong. Miles, the neighbour, is the drunk guy on the floor outside. I lift him by his shoulders and try to get him to sit up, but he doesn't. I don't think he can, actually. How does a person even get this drunk? Average night owl, Weatherspoons. Tate brings Miles in to sleep on the living room floor. Tate exposition dumps about her life for a few pages. Miles wakes up to have a big cry about someone called Rachel and passes out again. Tate notices that he has a jagged scar on his jaw to make him even more mysterious. Whatever he did to Rachel, at least he loves her enough to regret it. So what? How about loving someone enough to not put them through shit in the first place? Colleen Hoover, it is like a race to the bottom with you types of people. The bar is under the ocean floor. Women with the mindset of Colleen Hoover is where so many men get the audacity, because no matter what they do, there will always be a woman letting them get away with it and letting the side down. And if it's not a woman doing it, it's their mothers. Real life example made in Chelsea, yeah? Men on that show can cheat on their girlfriends with orgies or whatever, and women on the show like Liv Bentley will be like, tee-hee, naughty boys. But when a single girl, let's take Inga from the recent series, kisses a single guy, Harvey, that bloke who annoys me, everyone acted like she was the biggest bicycle in Chelsea for doing something while she was single. Are you joking? Are you joking? So I finished the book. Yeah, obviously that's why I'm doing this. And in this case, Miles and Rachel both suffered and it was neither of the other's fault. However, there was no way Tate could have known that at the time. So my point still stands. You can't beat me, Colleen Hoover. It's impossible. Better people than you have tried and failed. Chapter 2. Miles. 6 years earlier. Ooh, time jump. Miles is in high school. My mother would have been proud to know that, although it leaves me kind of disappointed in myself, detention is something every male in high school should accomplish at least once. Why just men? Colleen Hoover? Women can get into detention too. The gender trouble gap is real. Me, new girl enrolled today, senior. Ian, is she hot? Me, haven't seen her yet, about to walk her to class. Ian, take a picture if she's hot. Freaks. I'm pathetic. I won't argue with that. I instantly become aware of how my legs... Oh no, this is when Miles sees Rachel for the first time. Strap in, strap on, because it's abysmal. I instantly become aware of my legs and their inability to stand. My mouth forgets how to speak. My arms forget how to reach out and introduce the person they're attached to. My heart forgets to wait and get to know a girl before it starts to claw its way out my chest to get to her. Rachel. He's only seen her at this point. Like, the sight of her just makes him so horny he's about to explode. Rachel. Look at the screen right now. I know some of you, yeah, this is direct attack. I know some of you put these on to like pot around your house and do cleaning and whatever. Look at the screen right now and look what she just did to the text. She's like poetry, like prose and love letters and lyrics cascading down the center of a page. Rachel. I say her name over and over in my head because I'm positive it's the name of the next girl I'll fall in love with. I'm suddenly standing, walking toward her. I might be smiling, pretending I'm not affected by those green eyes that I hope will one day be smiling just for me. Or that red as my heart hair that doesn't look like it's been tampered with since God created it specifically with her in mind. I'm talking to her. I tell her that my name is Miles. What Colleen Hoover has just done is outrageous. Thanks. I hate it. But I will concede on one point. I do understand why some people would like this. Yeah. I get it. I know why some people would like Colleen Hoover. It's the live, laugh lovers. And they must all be destroyed. This goes on for pages. He waxes lyrical about this poor girl. We get to the end of a hallway, right when she says something about how she hopes she likes this school because she wasn't ready to move away from Phoenix. She doesn't look happy about the move. She doesn't know how happy I am about the move. Well, as long as the boy is happy, that's all that counts, right? We walk in that direction. Rachel, you're going to fall in love with me, Rachel. I open the door for her and let Mr. Clayton know that Rachel is new here. I also want to add, for the sake of all the other guys in the classroom, that Rachel's not theirs. She's mine, but I don't say anything. Where have I heard that before, Hoover? Where? I want to text Ian and tell her she isn't hot. I want to tell him she's volcanic, but he would laugh at that. Instead, I discreetly take a picture of her from where I'm seated. I send the picture in a message to Ian that says, she's gonna have all my babies.
I don't want to play any more games.
Okay. This poetry style continues on. Unbeknownst to me at the time, it continues on for most of the book in every Miles flashback chapter. We get it, Colleen Hoover. He sees her like poetry. You see yourself as some sort of literary genius. But clicking align center and not using Control+J doesn't make you a genius. It makes you a thorn in my side and a pain in my arse. I'm standing next to her locker waiting for her. She exits the classroom and smiles at me. I say hi when she walks up to her locker. I notice that same subtle change in her skin colour. I like that. All right, Edgine, calm down. I smell her subtly. She notices anyway. I tell her she smells good. She says, thank you. I say, piss off. Against everyone's better judgment, Rachel gives Miles her number. If you like poetry and like the name Rachel Oates, my mate, wrote a poetry book. This is not sponsored. She's not giving me money. She probably should. Reflections on Healing Poems. If you like poetry, go check this out instead of whatever the hell that was. Good deed of the day done. Now I can go back to being an arsehole. Chapter 3, Tate. Cop yourself some merch. 20% off for all of January. ayclothing.tmail.com. Miles is up and he is angry about his busted hand. Where's my phone? I squeeze my eyes shut and try to drown out the smooth sound of his voice as it slides into my ears and makes its way through every nerve in my body, warming me in places this flimsy blanket failed to do all night. Oh my God, go out and get laid, babe. Get a vibrator. He's being mad and rude, and she is being horny over it. Do better. Want more for yourself. Surprising to me, Tate gets up and slams the door in his face. Unsurprisingly to me, Miles comes in once again to yell some more. No Colleen Hoover male character understands boundaries. None of them. What the hell is wrong with you? He yells. I groan and then sit up on the bed and look at him. He's standing in the doorway once again, still looking at me like I owe him something. You! I yell back. He looks genuinely shocked at my harsh response, which makes me kind of feel bad. But he's the one being the jerk. I think. He started it. I think. Incredible acting. I've wasted my entire life. I should have been an actor. Nope, I'm going to stop whilst I'm ahead, otherwise I'll get miserable. Stop gaslighting yourself. Do better, Colleen Hoover. In what universe is it acceptable for a stranger to barge into another stranger's room and yell at them, even taking the gender strength imbalance out of the equation? What do I mean by that? Oh, even just remove the genders. If it's just two genderless strangers, that's well out of order. But the fact that he's a big grown bloke, and we know that he's, because she says, right, so he's going to be well stronger than her, because she's probably like petite and small, and may shop at the petite section in Topshop. Like a wee little baby. What's my point? He could nut her, not like that. He could beat her up, right? What am I talking about? Did we? He motions his finger back and forth between us. Did we? This is interactive narrative work. Hook up last night? Is that why you're pissed? I laugh when my initial thoughts are confirmed. He's being the jerk. And this is great. I'm neighbours with a guy who gets shit-faced on weeknights and obviously brings home so many girls in the process that he can't even remember which ones he's messed around with. Colleen Hoover, this is called slut-shaming, sweetie, and we don't do that in the 2023 year of our Lord. Oh yeah, Happy New Year. That's it. Tate? I immediately jump up and rush to the door, but Miles is still blocking the doorway, glaring at me, expecting a response to his own question. Is this just the standard for every single Colleen Hoover male love interest to block women into rooms? Or, wait, is this Colleen Hoover's kink? Does her husband just stand in the doorway to get her horny? Is this foreplay for coho? Why do I write these things? Ew. Anyway, despite Miles having the personality of a urine cake so far, Tate notices how blue his eyes are, and that's what really counts, ladies. I don't back down, and neither of us breaks eye contact when he steps out of my way and allows me to pass him. Allows me. Pfft. Quick, what's the easiest and most natural way to show that two people are family members? Write down your answer now. Hey sis, he says, pulling me in for a hug. I roll. Miles walks past both of us. I don't know, he says in response. I don't remember it. He walks into the kitchen and opens a cabinet, retrieving a cup like he's comfortable enough to here to do so. I don't like that. I don't like comfortable Miles. That's literally not your place. You only just arrived. Miles nervously clears his throat as he washes the glass and places it back in the cabinet. His discomfort with his lapse in memory makes me laugh. I like that he has no idea what happened last night. I even kind of like that the thought of being with me seems to unnerve him. I might keep this facade going for a while for my own sick enjoyment. This is a nice thought. It's toxic. It's lovely. Love to see it. And it gets ruined one page later. You were passed out in the hallway last night when I got here. I didn't know who you were, so when you tried to get inside the apartment, I might have slammed the door in your hand. It's not broken. I checked it out and it's bruised at best. Just put some ice on it and wrap it for a few hours. And no, we didn't hook up. I helped you into the apartment and then I went to bed. Your phone is on the floor by the front door where you dropped it last night because you were too shit-faced to walk. What a wimp. Corbin and Miles help Tate with her boxes. As soon as he comes into view, I lose the war. The war I didn't even know I was fighting. The drama. It doesn't happen often, but when I do find a guy attractive, it's better when it happens with a person I want it to happen with. Get a life! Miles is staring at me, and I can't quite judge his demeanour, because he still looks pissed. I stare back because no matter how good looking he may be with that attitude, I'm still waiting for the thank you I never got. The only toxic, good looking guy we like around here is Patrick Bateman, because even though he made a rat eat a woman inside out, and even though he killed... Can I say this? A child. It did happen in real life, of course I can say it. And dumped them in a zoo bin. At least he was funny. That's our bar around here. If you're funny, let animals eat humans inside out.
Would you like to hear the specials?
Not if you want to keep your spleen.
Honestly, ever since I wrote down urine cake, I've just been thinking of Patrick Bateman. Book readers will get it. Amazing book. I come to the conclusion that his appearance is completely contradictory. It's as if two different creators were at war when he was envisioned. The strength in his bone structure contrasts with the soft, inviting appeal of his lips. They seem harmless and welcoming compared with the harshness in his features and the jagged scar that runs... We never know how he got that scar, I think. Alongside his jaw. His hair can't decide if it wants to be brown or blonde or wavy or straight. His personality flips between inviting and callously indifferent, muddling my ability to discern hot from cold. His casual posture is at war with the fierceness I've seen in his eyes. His composure this morning contradicts his inebriated state from last night. His eyes can't... This is a lot of stuff going on, lady. His eyes can't decide if they want to look at his phone or at me because they waver back and forth several times before the elevator door opens. Entirely normal observations to make of someone. Why are all Colleen Hoover protagonists secretly detectives? Now here's the thing, because I'm a nice, brilliant, amazing, fantastic, good-looking person, I have some advice for Colleen Hoover. Colleen. Is it Colleen? Colon? Colleen. You are clearly good at unknowingly writing creepy men. Just take the compliment. So here's a tip, a top tip. Write a story about a female detective tracking down a creep and don't have them get together at the end. Don't make it a dark romance, please. Make it a thriller/horror. I genuinely think she could do that and be quite good at it. Utilize your ability to write male freaks. Just stop making them love interests. See, look how fair I am. Look how amazing I am. I don't like what she writes, but I'm not saying that she shouldn't. I ain't a gatekeeper. I just think that she'd do really well trying a different genre. I am the greatest person I've ever met. I don't get out much. Tate sees Cap again, who mutters something about pissing himself. Okay. It takes 3 trips to get all my things up, not 2. 3 entire trips when Miles doesn't speak another word to me. That's riveting. What a top love interest. Chapter 4, Miles, 6 years ago. All of them are 6 years ago, just to cut to the chase. Miles' mum died less than a year ago and his dad is already complaining about wanting to move on. Get wrecked. The dad is already in love with a woman called Lisa. Oh, what in the sitcom drama is this? Lisa is the mother of Rachel. As soon as Rachel appears, the stupid center alignment thing begins yet again. Go away, Colleen. I can see how sappy people, wet lettuces, would eat this up. But not for me, Colleen Hoover. Today I'm going hungry. Rachel isn't the next girl I'll fall in love with because Rachel is the girl who will more than likely become my new stepsister. It's what they deserve. My father walks into the room. He hugs Lisa. He says hi to Rachel and tells her it's good to see her again. My father already knows Rachel. Rachel already knows my father. My father is Lisa's new boyfriend. My father visits Phoenix a lot. My father has been visiting Phoenix a lot since before my mother died. My father is a bastard. Maybe you actually are real siblings. I don't know why I wanted that to happen. I look back at Rachel. Rachel looks at me. This is bleak. I can't fall in love with you, Rachel. Her eyes are sad. My thoughts are sadder. And you can't fall in love with me. Don't let your memes be dreams. Do not let imaginary concepts like marriage and step-sibling incest get in the way of you two making your own category on Pornhub. Chapter 5. Tate. Tate goes home from working part-time at the hospital and Miles is there with the married elevator creep and a random. The blonde lanky guy immediately stands up and walks over to me. He extends his hand. Tate, he asks. I'm Ian. I grew up with Miles. I'm a friend of your brother. What the hell did I ask? He points to the elevator guy who is still seated on the couch. This is Dylan. Dylan gives me a nod but doesn't bother speaking. He doesn't have to. His shit-eating grin says enough about what he's thinking right now. Great, she's in the apartment alone with 2 loser men and one guy who is fine being friends with loser men. Boring. They're watching The Game at Corbin's. Don't know which one. Doesn't specify. Tate slams her bedroom door with a huff, but then Miles knocks on it and he's just so tall and manly. I'm dying inside. If he were to kiss me, I'd have to tilt my face up to meet his, but it would be nice because he would probably wrap his arms around my lower back and pull him to me. No, pull me to him so that our mouths would come together like 2 pieces, get your mind out the gutter, like 2 pieces of a puzzle. Only they wouldn't fit very well because they are most definitely not 2 pieces from the same puzzle. Something strange is going on in my chest, a flutter kind of thing. I hate it because I know what it means. It means my body is really starting to like Miles. Well, as long as her body likes it and not her mind, that's all that matters, right, Colleen? I expel a quick relinquishing breath. I'm being a bitch. This isn't even my apartment. This is their thing that they obviously do on a regular basis, and who am I to think I could just move in and put a stop to it? Miles is an ass so far, so there's nothing wrong with being a bitch to an ass. I do it all the time, otherwise what's the alternative? To roll over and take it from an ass? Get real, Hoover. Wow, I just inadvertently did kind of similar, that speech from Team America about dicks, pussies and assholes just get shit on all right. Anyway, I'm just tired, I say to him. It's fine. I'm sorry if I was rude to your friends. Friend, he says as clarification. Dylan is not my friend. Why is he there then? You big freak. I mean, oh my God. It's my fault. I should have done this 6 hours ago. I've been rewatching Friends recently because I did the Matt Perry video and I wanted to see if my opinion, my feelings towards Chandler had changed knowing the turmoil that Matthew Perry was in behind the scenes. I just felt sad for him, to be honest. Just that's my conclusion on that. But I will give Matthew Perry kudos because Chandler says, you big freak, quite a lot. And it's sort of been living rent-free in my head. And I say it probably like 5 more times in this script. So Matthew Perry 1, Alizee 0. They make a bit of small talk. There's no smile though. Why doesn't he ever smile? Because Hoover thinks it is sexy when men have the personality of a wet sock. Dylan is giving me his full attention, but I look away and head to the kitchen to find something to eat. There is an oh no, I'm upset. There's something about a sandwich, and when I was writing this, I wanted to get a sandwich, and I never did. And it's been like 4 days, and I still haven't had a sandwich, and I'm upset. I'm really upset thinking of it. So I'd love a sandwich. Head to the kitchen to buy something to eat. There isn't much considering I haven't cooked all week, so. All right, Bella Swan, calm down. So I grab any girl who just like cooks and is independent in that way. It's just Bella Swan to me. So I grab all the stuff I need from the refrigerator in order to make a sandwich. No, wait, I did have a sandwich earlier. I had a Subway one. Oh, it's not the same though. I should have just made myself one. I don't have bread. Don't look at me like that. Don't judge me. I don't have bread. Why not? I don't know. We don't really eat bread around here. It upsets me. I'm getting emotional. But I'm actually emotional. I grab all the stuff I need from the refrigerator in order to make a sandwich. When I turn around, Dylan is still staring. Only now he's staring from about a foot away instead of all the way from the living room. What in the registered sex offender? Dylan's eyes aren't anything like Miles' eyes. When Miles looks at me, his eyes hide everything. Dylan's eyes don't hide anything. And right now, they're clearly undressing me. Lovely. Yes, I say simply as I make my way around him. I walk to the pantry and open it to look for the bread. I'm going to break down in tears in a minute. Once I find it, I set it on the bar and begin making my sandwich. I lay out bread for an extra sandwich to take to Cap. Is that it? Why was I crying at that? Oh God, now I really want a sandwich. One with all the works. Mayo, vegan meat, cucumber, lettuce, tomato, BRB. Edit. I never did make that sandwich. There's right, don't laugh at me and call me a Tory for this. M&S, they have their vegan range. They have this like, I guess it's meant to be, I think they call it chorizo, but it's more like I don't think I've ever had real chorizo or salami ever. But I guess it's more like these little salami slices that you get in a packet. And that was some like baguette, like a fresh baguette and vegan butter and some Hellmann's vegan mayo. And cucumber, always got to have that crunch and crunchy lettuce, and it's just good. It's just good. I'm upset all over again. I'm a pilot, he says. He doesn't say it in a smug way. Oh, okay. I'm a pilot, he says. He doesn't say it in a smug way. But when no one's asking you what your occupation is, voluntarily contributing it to the conversation naturally comes off as smug. I never tell anything what I do. And when they really press and I say I'm a YouTuber and I have to explain, because it's always like, oh, do you vlog? And I'm like, no, I kind of slag stuff off for a living. And then people will be like, oh, I don't want to follow you. And I'm like, I'm sorry in advance. Opposite of smug. Embarrassed. I work at the same airline as Corbin. He's staring. That might come across weird. I'm not embarrassed of you lot. I think you're all great. I'm embarrassed. What am I embarrassed about? I don't know. I'm just British, okay? He's staring at me, waiting for me to be impressed by the fact that he's a pilot. Oh, this is Dylan. What he doesn't realise is that all the men in my life are pilots. My grandfather was a pilot. My father was a pilot until he retired a few months ago. My brother is a pilot. Why do all of these pilots live in this same building? Even Miles is a pilot. I read that on the blurb. Dylan, if you're trying to impress me, you're going about it in the wrong way. I much prefer a guy of a little more modesty and a lot less wife. Ooh, you go girl. You tell him. You tell that married man. Ooh. My eyes flash down to the wedding ring on his left hand. Stab him with the bread knife. Miles ignores Dylan's display of annoyance, and slides his hand into my I'm just making it up. I'm just making up my own story because I'm bored of this now. Slides his hand into his back pocket, pulling out a key. He hands it to me. Go study at my place. It's not a request. It's a demand. So manly when he orders me around. Ooh, it's so sexy. I'm so horny. I already know Hoover's game. I know that she's doing this because Miles wants to protect Tate from Dylan, and that'll make Tate swoon because he cares about her. I know your tricks, Hoover. I'm still thinking about that sandwich. He studies the exhibit a little longer before leaning into me again. He grabs the key off the bar behind me and slides it into my front pocket. I'm not even sure if his fingers touch my jeans, but I inhale sharply and look down my pocket while his hand pulls away because holy hell, I wasn't expecting that. Now I can do it better than that, surely. Oh no, I'm going to make myself look. Tate goes, pretending it's so that she can just snoop in his apartment. No paintings on the sterile white walls, no decorations, no colour whatsoever. Even the solid oak table dividing the kitchen from the living room is undecorated. It's so unlike the home I grew up in, where the kitchen table was the focal point of my mother's entire house, complete with a table runner, an elaborate overhead chandelier, and plates to match whatever the current season was. Miles doesn't even have a fruit bowl. His apartment is empty like his heart. He has a bookcase full of books about airplanes, i.e. his job. This guy is allergic to having a personality. He even so much thinks about being slightly more interesting and he gets covered in hives. I open a cabinet, grab a cup and pour myself some juice. I drink it and rinse the cup out in the sink. This is a fascinating blow-by-blow account of your life. I feel like I'm in Twilight again. There are a few other dishes piled up. Wow. The way that Twilight just affected pop culture, I have to give it kudos in the saddest way possible. There are a few other dishes piled up on the left side of the sink, so I begin washing those too. Even his plates and cups lack personality, plain and white and sad. Why are you doing his dishes, you domesticated goddess? How weird. I have the sudden urge to take my credit card straight to the store and buy him some curtains, a new set of vibrant dishes, a few paintings, and maybe even a plant or two. This place needs a little life. I read a review that said this book is for all the I can fix him girlies. Where is the lie? I wonder what his story is. I don't think he has a girlfriend. I've yet to see him with one up to this point, and the apartment and obvious lack of female touch make it a likely assumption. I don't think a girl could walk into this apartment without decorating it at least a little bit before she left, so I'm assuming girls just never walk into this apartment. Colleen Hoover, what are you babbling about? You want to know the extent of decorating I've done to my boyfriend's apartment? A poster of Michael Scott's film Threat Level Midnight. Tell me where the female touch is on that. Miles comes back to annoy me. He smiles, I think. Just as soon as his lips start to curl up, they mash back into a straight line. False alarm. Sexy. So sexy when a man's always like this. He turns to face me and leans his shoulder into the refrigerator, folding his arms over his chest. I don't care if you drink my juice, Tate. Oh wow. That was an oddly sexy sentence. So is his presence in delivering it. Yeah, I can really hear his delivery via reading a book. Miles shrugs his shoulders, leaning his back completely against the refrigerator. Dylan's an asshole who has no respect for his wife, he says. Why'd you hang out with him then? Good? Ha! Miles doesn't want me to like Dylan. I love that Miles doesn't want me to like Dylan. Self-respect. Ever heard of it? Get some. His shirt isn't buttoned. I'm staring at his stomach. Stop staring at his stomach. Oh my word, he has the V. Those beautiful indentations on men that run the length of their outer abdominal muscles, disappearing beneath their jeans as if the indentations are pointing to a secret bullseye. Oh God. Colleen Hoover books are my ninth circle of hell. I laugh and follow him toward the living room. I walk to the table to grab my things. I think you're forgetting how we met, I say. Move-in day? Someone passed out drunk in the hallway day? He opens the front door to let me out. I have no idea what you're talking about, Tate, he says. We met on an elevator, remember? I can't tell if he's kidding, because there's no smile or gleam in his eyes. This is sucking the life force out of me. I guess that's why she's called Colleen Hoover. Ba-dum-tsh. Dum-dum-tsh. Ba-dum. Dun 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 dun. You thought I was someone named Rachel, I blurt out, explaining away the awkwardness as best I can. I just thought maybe something happened between the two of you and that's why, you know. Miles inhales a deep breath, but he tries to hide it. I hit a nerve. We don't talk about Rachel, apparently. Well, you have barely met him, so in a normal circumstance, this would be inappropriate conversation regardless. However, knowing Hoover as well as I do now, he's just going to be another one of those silent, repressed men who never communicate or talk about their issues, snore. Spoiler alert, guess what? I was right. I'm always right. And actually, I watched the other day for the first time Bridget Jones's Baby, and I think I'm just getting too old for certain tropes now because Mark Darcy pissed me off. And I liked him in the first two movies, but he pissed me off big time. Just flipping communicate, people. Stop being so English and uptight and repressed. Go to therapy, get help, evolve past the stiff upper lip. Am I not British anymore? Am I too confrontational? I don't know. Chapter 6, Miles, 6 years ago, I don't care. Every single thing has just become Rachel. Oh, good. It's consuming me. My thoughts aren't thoughts anymore. My thoughts are Rachel. I can't fall in love with you, Rachel. I look at the sink. I want to... Oh, this is dire. I want to look at Rachel. I breathe in air. I want to breathe in Rachel. I close my eyes. I only see Rachel. I wash my hands. I want to touch Rachel. I want Rachel to get as far away from this book as possible. Also, you're like 16. You'll get over it. The future step-siblings have a snog. No, step-brother. What are you doing? They almost get caught by Rachel's mum. She goes home. They text. Me, what can we do about tomorrow night? Rachel, we lie to them. Me, can you meet me at 7? Rachel, yes. Me, Rachel? Rachel, yeah? Me, good night. Rachel, good night, Miles. This is on par with the emails from 50 Shades of Grey. Chapter 7, tape. It's been 2 weeks since I've seen Miles, but only 2 seconds since the last time I thought about him. So at this point, Taint has gone full Bella Swan. Love to see it. Miles is spending Thanksgiving with Tate and Corbin. Miles refuses to answer Cap's questions or interact with him in a more polite manner. People who are rude to service workers are so dreamy. Some people just don't like questions is all. And he falls back into his chair. He gives me a farewell suit and I salute him back before walking toward the exit. I can't tell if Cap excuses Miles' rude behaviour because he likes Miles or if he just makes excuses for everyone. Wow, Tate has got some awareness. I hope it will last. Tate is concerned that she has an unrequited crush on Miles and it will distract her from school. Oh, the drama. I hope it will last. I hate this. Same. I have no idea what's going through his head. He never smiles, he never laughs, he doesn't flirt. His face appears as if he keeps a constant veil of armour between his expressions and the rest of the world. Christ, this is so bleak. At least Edward Cullen laughed once in a while, and at Jacob's expense, which is even better. They play a game of footsie, except with their eyes in the mirror. I make it 3 minutes, then I look again. Shit, so does he. I smile, amused by whatever game this is we're playing. He smiles too. He smiles too. I don't think in any of the books I've done so far, the bar for a man has ever been this low. And that is saying something. Do you know what? The more I read this stuff, the more I do appreciate Twilight, because at least Edward had the whole secret immortality venom going for him. I can see why a girl would go for that. I would go for some immortality venom myself. He lowers his arm to rest it on the console, but my feet are in his way. I push up on my hands. Sorry, I say as I begin to pull them back. His fingers wrap around my bare stopping me. You're fine, he says. Excuse me, Hoover? So not only does she have her bare, disgusting floor grippers out, contaminating someone else's car, Miles is into that. He has a foot fetish, and I have to read about that. Go to hell. I really want that sandwich. Holy hell. Okay, content warning. This is shocking. I'm surprised the publisher kept it in. Holy hell. His thumb just moved. Deliberately moved, stroking the side of my foot. My thighs clenched together and, she has a foot fetish for herself. She has a foot thing too. And my breath halts in my lungs and my lungs tense. No, my legs tense. You can't tense your lungs. Because I'll be damned if his hand didn't just caress my foot before he pulled it away. Is this foreplay? D-I-E. They get to Tate's parents' house. My mother passes me the pan of boiled eggs. I begin cracking them to prepare for the deviled eggs, and she leans across the kitchen island and rests her chin in her hands. That Miles sure is a looker, she says with an arch of her eyebrow. Why do all coho mothers have bad judgment? Let me explain something about my mother. She's a great mum, a really great mum. Spoiler alert, she doesn't sound like a great mum. But I've never been comfortable talking to her about guys. It started when I was 12 and when I got my first period. She was so excited she called 3 of her friends to tell them before she even explained what the hell was happening to me. I learned pretty early on that secrets aren't secrets once they reach her ears. What in the goddamn ring-a-ding-ding? What? Why would you do that? I'd be mortified. Mortified. You're so self-conscious when you're 12 years old. Obviously, as an adult, having a period and a big deal, as a concept, I mean, it varies from person to person, sure. But as a concept, like, it's just uterus wall, shedding, any bloke that gets squeamish or won't, pick you up some tampons if you need them, put them in the bin, flush them down the loo with your bloody tampon. It's not, right, it's not, as a concept, whatever. But when you're 12, you're well self-conscious about everything, really self-conscious. I'd go nuts. Anyway, chapter 8, Miles. Central alignment again. His dad is still seeing Carol. Who's Carol? I thought her name was Lisa. Whatever. Whilst Miles is seeing his one-day-to-be step-sibling. I nod. I wonder if she loves my nod as much as I love hers. What? She shuts the door behind me and I look around. Their apartment is small. I've never lived in a place this small. I think I like it. The smaller the house, the more a family is forced to love one another. Nope, doesn't work like that in the slightest. Good try though, romanticizing, cramped housing. There's like a spin the wheel I never thought. There's a bingo card you didn't expect. Romanticizing, cramped housing. What's next? Going to all the coffin apartments in Hong Kong and saying, tee-hee, this is just so cozy and romantic. Shut up, you Tory, you abyss of all that is good and proper and decent. We only rented the apartment for a month. I overheard her on the phone with him yesterday. She looks back up at me. We're moving in with you in 2 weeks. Stepbrother, help me. I'm stuck under the bed. Oh no, stepbrother, what are you doing? I close my eyes. I still see Rachel. I open my eyes. I stare at Rachel. I close my eyes. I still see bad books. I open my eyes. I punch my laptop. Silence. 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 Loud, deafening silence. Matt Berry. You and he were buddies, weren't you? I should be a voice actor. Actoire. I want to cover my ears with my hands. I want to cover my heart with armor. I don't even know you, Rachel. I should leave, I say. She tells me okay. I can't. I whisper. She tells me okay. We stare at each other. My God. I heard that they used this book at Guantanamo Bay to torture information out of people. A few pages of this nonsense and anyone, even the most hardened spy, would give up their country's innermost secrets. They snog and then they decide to do this. This being each other for 7 months until they both go off to college. Chapter 9, Tate. Miles' hand is bleeding. Good. Luckily, Tate is a student nurse and Miles convinces her to sew up his cut. I got distracted then because I put in brackets pronounced S-O-W. I can't get a good angle of how we're positioned, so I stand up and prop my leg on the edge of the tub. I put his hand on my leg. Oh, hell. Lady, he is gushing blood right now. Maybe don't get horny. And I feel like I've read this exact scene somewhere else. Someone losing blood and the other person getting horny at them being shirtless. Little help, please, from someone who has watched all my videos because I can't remember. I got massive deja vu. Either I've done this before or something has gone terribly wrong within the Matrix. It's going to hurt, I warn. He laughs as though he knows pain and to him, this isn't pain. Shut up. I pierce his skin with the needle and he doesn't even flinch. He doesn't make a sound. Ooh, you're odd. I bet this is some shit. Like his heartbreak was so painful that having a needle jammed into his skin repeatedly feels like nothing in comparison, even without anesthetic. Literally, shut up. I, spoiler alert, get needles in my face on a regular basis and it makes me cry every time. Go away. I have no idea how so much can be going on right now, but all I can focus on is the tip of that finger. It feels as hot against my jeans as a branding iron. Here he is with a serious gash, blood soaking into the towel beneath his hand, my needle piercing his skin, and all I can focus on is that tiny little contact between my knee and his finger. Pathetic. 2 of the tips of his fingers are touching my knee. 3, I inhale again and try to focus on finishing his stitches. I can't. Me neither. This is deliberate. This touch isn't an accidental graze. He's touching me because he wants to be touching me. His fingers trail around my knee. His hand slips to the back of my leg. He lays his forehead against my shoulder with a sigh. He squeezes my leg with his hand. If he's bleeding so much, then how is he maintaining his huge boner for Tate? Plot hole. She finishes stitching him up and he holds her. I feel like I'm about to die and there isn't a damn thing in that first aid kit that could save me. He tightens his grip on my neck and then he kills me. Colleen Hoover, don't you dare tease me of a good time. Or he kisses me. I can't tell which, since I'm pretty sure they would feel the same. His lips against mine feel like everything, like living and dying and being reborn all at the same time. I cannot take romance books seriously. I know they're supposed to romanticize these things. I understand it. I'm not stupid. But it's so OTT that I can't. If a kiss feels like you're dying, call 999. 0118 999 88199 9119 725 3. His hand moves from my waist and glides down to my leg. Kill me now. Just kill me now. Gladly. Miles stops and starts being all, I shouldn't do this. Don't let me do it again. Don't let me do that again. I couldn't stop him if I wanted to. I wanted that so much I don't even want to eat. And he probably doesn't realize how much I love Thanksgiving dinner, which means I want that a lot. And that isn't referring to the plate of food in front of me. That is Miles. Us. Me kissing Miles. Miles kissing me. Why is this so, bad? No offense, full offense, Coho. Why is that just so rubbish? Miles hasn't had a girlfriend in a long time, Mum, Corbin says, confirming my suspicion. Doesn't mean he's single, though. My mum tilts her head in confusion. So do I. So does Miles. Am I missing something? My dad asks. My mother points her forks at Miles. He's gay, honey, she says. Is not, my dad says firmly, laughing at her assumption. I'm shaking my head. Don't shake your head, Tate. Miles isn't gay, I say defensively, looking at my mother. Corbin thinks Miles is gay because he hasn't been with a girl in 3 years. Whatever. Miles confirms that he is not gay in case we were wondering, which we weren't, but whatever, Fletcher, I don't care either way. Do you, boo? I don't know what to think about Miles or that kiss. He's obviously attracted to me, or he wouldn't have kissed me. Sadly, that's enough for me. I don't even care if he likes me. I just want him to be attracted to me because the liking can come later. Want more for yourself, babes? Unable to sleep, Tate goes to the kitchen and Miles is there. Has it really been 6 years since you've had a girlfriend? And sex. He hasn't had sex in 6 years. So what? Who cares? It's his business. Most people are terrible at sex anyway. I'd know. I've shagged all of them. So that's my consensus. So he's not missing out on anything by not shagging randoms. He hasn't even kissed a girl in 6 years either. I will say, maybe unpopular opinion, I think this makes a nice change from all the stories where the girl is like the sexless virgin or she's only been with one bloke, whereas the bloke has shagged around a lot. I'll give Coho that. I think it's a nice inversion of it because it annoys me a bit. It's not that I don't like you, Tate. He sighs heavily and runs his hands through his hair, gripping the back of his neck. I just don't want to like you. I don't want to like anyone. I don't want to date anyone. I don't want to love anyone. He folds his arms back across his chest and looks down at the floor. He's a volcel. Love that for him. I'm attracted to you, Tate, he says, his voice low. I want you, but I want you without any of that other stuff. He just admitted that he wants to have sex with me. He just doesn't want it to lead into anything. I don't know why this flatters me. It should make me want to punch him. But the fact that he chose to kiss me after not having kissed anyone for 6 years straight makes this new confession seem like I just won a Pulitzer. Babe. Oh, babe. I'm sure he's wondering if he just pissed me off. I don't want him to think that because honestly I want to yell, I won at the top of my lungs. You've won nothing. Having a guy want to shag you but want nothing else, no commitments, zilch, is hardly an achievement. That is the average dating life of most singletons. She makes him say the word ox to prove to herself that his voice can make anything beautiful. What? Tate decides that, yes, she will have no strings attached sex with the guy she's into and lives across a hallway from, because what could possibly go wrong? I stop smiling because he is seriously intimidating. When he reaches me, I've still not had my tetanus shot. Okay, comment section, you're doing a good job. Someone remind me to go get my tetanus shot. I've never had one. I like to live dangerously. And I hurt my finger earlier. I slammed my fingertip right where the nail starts in one of the cupboards earlier. Oh my God, I thought that it was going to fall off or something. I've had a fingernail, a whole fingernail fall off, not fall off, it like popped out because I was a little kid and I was pushing something and it popped out at school, and apparently I just screamed and screamed and screamed. And then, content warning. Right, so the whole nail was off and I had to have like it wrapped up in a plaster, and for some reason the skin around it was one of these ring fingers, the skin around it went white, I think because maybe it wasn't getting, I don't know, because it had a plaster wrapped around it, and this part was like orangey whilst the nail was growing back. The nail grew back fairly quickly considering the entire fingernail came off, actually, because I remember only having plaster for a few weeks. So I would look at it and think, oh my God, my finger looks like fried eggs, and it put me off eggs. Anyway, I stopped smiling because he is seriously intimidating. When he reaches me, he places his hands on either side of me, then leans in close to my neck. It's been 6 years, Tate. Believe me when I tell you, I'm ready. Those all just became my new favourite words. Believe, and me, and when, and I, and tell, and you, and I'm, and ready. Favourites, all of them. I think this writing is god-awful. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I'm not Rachel. Yeah. She understands stuff. You're welcome for that compliment. I am not some literary... I don't think I'm a critic because I don't feel that this is literary analysis. I'm not talking about not stanzas, that's poetry, so I know that. I'm not talking about the clauses and that shit. I can't do that. I don't know that stuff. To me, I just know, I guess it's subjective, what I think sounds good. So when I sit here saying I don't think this writing's very good, I'm not coming from some sort of academic background. I'm just coming from the school of life. I'm joking. That's what boomers say to justify their stupid worldviews. I just go by what I think sounds good. So I think that this is bad because it seems like pointless internal babble using more words than is necessary, and it comes across as quite childish as well. I set the cup of juice back down, then pressed my palms into the counter and leaned slightly forward. Listen to me, Miles. You're single. I'm single. You work way too much, and I'm focused on my career in an almost unhealthy way. Even if we wanted a relationship out of this, it would never work. Our lives wouldn't fit one. We also aren't really friends, so we don't have to worry about our friendship being ruined. You want to have sex with me? I'll totally let you. A lot. And do you know what? This would be fine if we didn't already know that she's going to obviously turn into a massive simp for him and obsess over him. I'm nervous because I'm not so sure that just sex with him is possible. Based on the way I'm drawn to him, I have a pretty good feeling sex will be the least of our problems. Yet here I sit, pretending to be fine with just sex. Maybe if it starts out this way, it'll eventually end up being something more. Not even a page later, she's already conspiring to have it turn into a relationship. Get in the bin. Oh God, PSA time. Casual sex only works if you openly communicate with the other and are honest about your needs. Why did I previously say most people in my experience are bad at sex and relationships? Because people seem to have this inability to be honest about their feelings. Maybe they get embarrassed or they feel awkward. I know I'm a bit unnaturally, for an English person, confrontational, and I will just... It amazes some of my friends because I'll just be like, look, this thing happened the other day and it annoyed me, so let's talk about it. Rather than just do the passive-aggressive thing. I'm old. I don't have time to be that passive-aggressive, all right? Sometimes people just feel silly if they say how they feel, or sometimes they just want to play games, so they won't. They want to be manipulative. Whatever it is. People being dishonest about their feelings has just been exemplified by these previous two segments. She is setting herself up for failure immediately. Now, obviously, we know they're going to get together at the end because it's a Coho book, but IRL, this would end terribly, almost without exception. Plus, do be aware that the more you have sex with the same person, the more oxytocin and pair bonding chemicals are released in your body, so it does naturally get harder to keep it to just sex unless you're, I don't know, like very self-aware or slightly sociopathic. Pick your lane. They start smooching again until Tate's dad walks in on them. They sneak off to the hallway to whisper about having rules. His eyes focus on mine for several seconds. Don't ask about my past, he says firmly. Never expect a future. I absolutely don't like either of those rules. Despite disliking it, Tate agrees to this. Hard to have sympathy, isn't it? Well, I only have one rule, I say quietly. He waits my rule. I can't think of a rule. I don't have any rules. Why don't I have any rules? Shut up, you idiot. He's still waiting. I don't know what it is yet, but when I think of it, you'll have to follow it. Tate is very big smart. I'm afraid of how this is going to end. That is exactly how you want to feel after snogging someone for the first time. Chapter 10, Miles. Ian knows about Rachel. These chapters are very dull. It's just Rachel, Rachel, Rachel. She's the only thing that matters. She is like poetry to me. You understand what I am saying, bruv. He begins walking, then pauses again. He tells me he appreciates that I'm being nice to Rachel. Why am I saying it like that? He says he wishes he and Mum could have given me a sibling when I was younger. He says I make a good brother. Rachel has rules too. Second, no sex. I'm not nodding anymore. Ever? I ask her. She's nodding. Oh, I really hate that nod. Why? She sighs heavily. Sex will make it that much harder when our time is up. You know that. What's the point then? It's not like they are attracted to each other's personalities. I want the step-siblings to shag because it'll be funny, alright? Chaotic neutral. I grin. So sex is the only thing off limits? And we're talking penetration, right? Not oral? Oh, romantic. When we were younger, Corbin and I always agreed that if we could have any superpower, it would be the ability to fly. Now that I know Miles, I've changed my mind. If I had a superpower, it would be infiltration. I would infiltrate his mind so I could see every one of his thoughts. I would infiltrate his heart and spread myself around like a virus. I would call myself the infiltrator. Yeah, that has a nice ring to it. She sounds a bit immature for a 23-year-old. I just wanted to breathe, but he's not letting me. He's invading. I don't think he means to. He's just invading my thoughts and my stomach and my lungs and my world. That's his superpower. Invasion. The invader and the infiltrator. They pretty much have the same meaning, so I guess we make one screwed up team. Sounds like the worst superhero duo ever. If I needed help and these two turned up, I would just let the villain kidnap or kill me. They make boring small talk in the gas station. I don't know if I can do this, Miles. I don't know if I can follow rule number 2 because I suddenly want to climb into your future more than I want to climb into the back seat with you. Kisses a guy twice. I lean back in the seat and stare out the window, a little envious of both of them. Envious of the things they've seen, the places they've travelled. What's it like, watching the sunrise from up in the air? Corbin shrugs. I don't really look at it, he says. I'm too busy working when I'm up there. This makes me sad. Don't take it for granted, Corbin. He's busy making sure people don't die. Tate. You bend the laws of the universe when you fly, I say. Romanticized drivel. If the universe didn't want us to fly, then we wouldn't have evolved to be able to do so. The universe doesn't care if we fly or not. Your life is ultimately meaningless. Have a nice day. You save lives, Miles says. That's way more impressive. Really? Because right now she's killing me. Chapter 12. Miles. And a rule number 3 was recently added. No sneaking around at night. Lisa still checks. Who was Carol then? Who am I talking about? Lisa still checks on Rachel in the middle of the night sometimes. Only because Lisa is the mother of a teenage daughter and it's the right thing to do. They're like 16. Who does that? No one checked on me at nighttime secretly when I was 16. Is that why I'm like this? The Miles chapters are boring. He's infatuated with his stepsister. When their parents are out for the weekend, they play house and pretend to be a couple and take showers together. They're in love after a whole month, but they are scared that they will have to break up. Aren't the Cullens all like technically adopted step-siblings? It's fine, worked out for them. They end up having sex. Chapter 13, Tate. Corbin laughs and turns to unlock our door. It's not exactly my fault I assumed you were gay. You never talk about girls and you've apparently left sex off your schedule for 6 years straight. Asexuality needs more representation in the mainstream media. He's looking straight at me, invading me. It's on the agenda now, he says with a smile. I'm an agenda now. I don't want to be an agenda. I want to be a plan, a map. I want to be a map on his future. But that breaks rule number 2. Well, a chapter ago, he broke a different rule number 2 with Rachel, so you'll be fine, mate. This whole book is a number 2. It was easy. It was there. He texts her. There's a weird voice in my head singing, na, 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 boo, boo. He stole my number. I'm such a child. Weird flex. She goes over to Miles. He keeps calling her weird. He's going to give her a complex. Oh, God. I'm just going to read this one. Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. I was wilding out. Right. I had some things to say. I've been spending a lot of time on Colleen Hoover's subreddits to research, and good lord, are some of her fans infantile and can't take criticism of their fave? I see the argument, at least people are reading, implied that is so annoying, applied to Colleen, as if it's not an incredibly low bar as it is. If we accept that the media we consume is internalized and affects us either consciously or subconsciously, is there not a conversation to be had about the types of media we are consuming? Do you know, on British TV in the early 2000s, there was just all these shows about kind of treating overweight people as if they were circus animals. You know, like that show Fat Families, where that guy would go up to their letterboxes and yell, "Come on, fatties!" Like, there was all types of shows like that, dating shows. There was like this one special I watched where these two women raced to try to get to a size 0 or 00 or something. And there was another lady who got down to like a size 0. And Anna Richardson was always doing diet shows. And I watched all of that stuff, all of it, voraciously, gobbled it up. And because I was watching that stuff, I don't know, I definitely internalized some of the not so good messaging in it, you know, and I had to unlearn that stuff, right? My big criticism of Twilight is that it glorifies abusive relationships, and it was read by teens at the time who internalized the bad, overtly religious undertones. With 50 Shades of Grey, E.L. James had no idea what she was rambling about, and tens of millions of people read her drivel. And out of them, how many people do you think went ahead and tried BDSM, tried to use cable ties, etc.? I'm not saying that we shouldn't have books that have human toxicity or bad relationships, because of course we should. It makes stories more compelling when characters are foolish, make bad decisions. Like, that's the heart of every story. Every scene is... The point of every scene is to have conflict. What's the most amount of conflict your characters can have? The issue with Colleen Hoover is that the meta-narrative does not see the toxicity or does not support it as being a bad thing, celebrates it, because the awful men just always get their way in the end. She seems to think that blokes who desperately need therapy are the ultimate sexy icon, that you can change him if you just stick in there and accept the abuse. So no, that people are at least reading isn't a good enough thing if they're reading nonsense that normalizes, glorifies, and justifies abusive men. Do we not already have enough of that in life? It's like Stephen King books. If there's a guy who's abusing his wife, you know that Stephen King understands that it's abuse and shows that through the... You're smart enough to... You're all smart enough to understand what I mean. I even saw some of her fans on these subreddits saying shut the hell up at anyone who criticised her books. Like, well-founded criticisms, not name-calling like I might do. It was just really juvenile. There has always been criticism of any given public work, and there absolutely is space for it, especially if it is reasonable. The most impactful book to me that I've ever read is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. And I've seen people criticise it, and I'm not going to get personally offended because I think it's a solid book and it's affected me in a way that's subjective to me. It might come across in my videos that I am dismissive of everyone else's opinions, and most of the time, about most subjects, that is true. But if someone has a well-justified critique of something I enjoy, I might give it a listen, and it won't diminish my enjoyment of said thing. I'm open to listening. Colleen Hoover's fan base, like the loud minority... it's probably the loud majority, don't seem to have that same... The words fail me. Respect, I suppose. Too long, didn't read. Colleen Hoover fans need to grow up. They kiss and head to the bedroom, finally. His fingers touch my zipper. He begins to pull it down. My heart is hammering away in my chest so hard it feels like it's building something. Oh, God. Maybe my heart is building a stairway for himself all the way to heaven, since he knows he'll explode and die the second these jeans slide off. What the hell does this even mean? What does that mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? Ah! Why is her heart a he? What? Barely any foreplay later, and I'm sorry, he says, frantically stepping out of his jeans. I wanted this to be good for you. I wanted it to be memorable, at least. He's out of his jeans now. He's looking me in the eyes, but I'm finding it hard to keep eye contact with him because now his boxers are off. But if I'm not inside you in 2 seconds, this is going to be really embarrassing for me. If she comes from 2 seconds of sex, I will yell. Thankfully, she doesn't, but he does jizz in 2 minutes. I just know that sex wasn't good, Colleen Hoover. Don't even test me. I am surprised at the smut, but that is because Twilight has ruined my life with all the frantic, virginal hand-holding. He goes down on her and gives her an orgasm, so that's good for her, I suppose. Jesus Christ. I'm this, him, I'm falling, I'm floating. Wow. Worst orgasm I've ever read. They have sex again. Miles pulls back and looks down at me. He smiles when he sees my face, and looking at him brings it to my attention that he never once made eye contact either time he was inside me. It makes me wonder if this was intentional or if it was just a coincidence. It's because he was imagining it was with his stepsister instead. Tate has decided she never wants to sleep with someone else ever again, and Miles gets her dressed and sends her on her way. No aftercare, no cuddling, no friends in the friends with benefits. Love it. Tate is disappointed though. Tate overhears Corbin in the living room on the phone, so she hides in the lobby to avoid suspicion, which is tragic. Cap is up by himself, despite it being midnight, which is even more tragic. Poor man. Make this story about Cap instead. I may be old, but that don't mean I can't read body language, he says. Does this mean you and the boy are, what's the term they use now? Hooking up? Bumping uglies? Love him. Cap slowly turns his head towards me and arches his bushy grey eyebrow. I ever tell you about the time I found a dead body on the 3rd floor? Best character. Chapter 14. Miles. More Miles simping over Rachel. Maybe. Here's my conspiracy theory. Coho did the center alignment thing to make her words stretch across more pages. Just a thought. It only hurts when I'm not kissing Rachel. Maybe this explains why falling in love is so damn painful. I like kissing you, Rachel. Snore. Chapter 15. Tate. Miles is back from his 9-day work schedule. He's measuring his window by curtains. The curtains are blue because they represent depression. Every English teacher jizzes at this. They go shopping together for the curtains. I've always been sympathetic to people who have nothing and nowhere to go. Corbin hates that I can never pass homeless people without giving them money or food. He says the majority of them are homeless because they have addictions, and that when I give them money, it only feeds those addictions. Why does Corbin hate something that doesn't affect him in the slightest but might improve someone else's day a little bit? Corbin is an asshole. Do you know what Russell Brand once said about, homeless people, you're just feeding their addiction stuff? He once said, and I agree with this, I have a nice flat, and it's hard enough every day to stay away from drugs with all that I have. If I was on the street, I'd be on drugs too. Because it's not, I don't think it's like, obviously I don't have the data, right? But I think it's probably more likely that you're homeless first, and then to deal with just the bleakness, the poverty of living on the street, you turn to drugs to get through the day. I don't know, and a lot of the stuff I've seen and read, I think that tends to be more of the case, but I don't have the data, I don't have a survey, I don't know. Point is, Corbin's an arsehole. They pick curtains and have a cheeky snog. Tate. He says my name so quietly. I can feel his regret in the words he hasn't even spoken yet. He opens his eyes and looks at me. I like kissing you, Tate. Despite the regret I think he feels with saying them, I'm pretty sure I'll be silently repeating those words for the rest of the day. I don't want to. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Tate's self is... That was wrong. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants, Tate's self-esteem. SpongeBob SquarePants, Tate's self-esteem. It's hard, sharp. Miles bought a blanket for the homeless man outside, which is lovely. So lovely. This must be manipulation to make me like him. I won't fall for it. They go home and meet up for dinner later. Miles has hung his curtains up, but left the rug on the floor in a funny position so they could do sex on it. Chapter 16. Miles. More nonsense with the random bits in italics. She says she wants her bathing suit, so we go to the house first and get our bathing suits. We also pack a lunch and a blanket. We go to the beach. Why is that in italics? Why is that emphasized? When my mum died, I stopped believing in God. She lays her head on her arms and keeps her eyes shut. I didn't think God would make someone go through so much physical pain. I didn't think God would make someone suffer like she suffered. I didn't think God was capable of making someone go through something so ugly. A tear falls from Rachel's closed eyes. But then I met you, and every single day since then, I've wondered how someone could be so beautiful if there wasn't a God. I've wondered how someone could make me so incredibly happy if God didn't exist. And I realised, just now, that God gives us the ugliness so we don't take the beautiful things in life for granted. What religious propaganda is this? Miles, I'm late. The baby's grandparents will be biological and step. This is brilliant. I kind of hoped for a better plot twist. Their mother, the baby's mother, will also be their step aunt. Love to see it. Chapter 17. Tate. Tate goes for dinner with Corbin, Miles and Ian. Miles has become a captain. Miles cuts his eyes to mine and smiles, then glances at Corbin. When he sees Corbin's back is still to us, he leans over and plants a quick kiss on the side of my head. These guys are terrible at just being fuck buddies, by the way. You look pretty, Tate. I want to plaster those 4 words on a billboard and require myself to pass it on my drive to work every day. I would never take another day off work again. Can you calm down? Corbin and I actually have sex lives that interfere with working overtime, Ian retorts. Corbin shakes his head. No discussing my sex life in front of my sister. Why not? I pipe up. It's not like I don't notice all the random nights you spend away from the apartment when you aren't working. Corbin groans. I'm serious. Change of subject. She's 23, you puritanical weirdo. You don't need to go into detail about it, but like you can acknowledge the fact that you do have sex as an adult. Miles shrugs, more interested in the drink between his hands than having to stare down my brother. Relationships aren't worth the end result to me. Something in my heart cracks. Don't worry, babes. You can change him. Never mind a man actually being responsible for himself in one of these books and going to therapy. All it'll take is some two-dimensional cutout of a woman to fix his trauma. They actually do play footsie under the table. Ugh. What's the deal with Dylan, I ask. Why do you all hate him so much? Corbin shrugs. It's not that we hate him. We just can't stand him. Same thing. And none of us realised it until after we had already invited him to our game nights. He's a prick. Corbin shoots me that all too familiar glare. And I don't ever want you alone with him. Being married doesn't stop him from being an asshole. Yay, we know Dylan is predatory and sex pesty, but we continue to enable him by hanging out with him and never say a thing to him, but we slag him off behind his back and that's good enough, am I right? Men, do better. His face pinches together and for a second he even starts resembling our dad. The hell I will, Corbin growls. You're my little sister. I have standards for you, and Dylan doesn't come close to meeting even one of them. Yeah, of course, he has standards for her, yet Tate has zero standards for the random women Corbin hooks up with regularly and zero say in the matter. This isn't cute, it's weird, it's puritanical. She is your sister, you don't own her. If I had an older brother, for legal reasons I'm going to have to say that this is a joke and I won't actually do this. If I had an older brother who behaved like this, I would hook up with all of his friends on purpose to give him lifelong trust issues in other men, teehee. But of course, Tate is like, teehee, I do love that he wants the best for me, heart eyes, shut up. And of course, a reminder that dads in media who act possessive over their daughter's purity, you know, the whole I'm getting the shotgun, blah, blah, blah. It's not cute either. It's weird, borderline emotional incest. And mums who clearly just want to marry their sons is incest full stop. Corbin, no guy will ever come close to the standards you set for me. He nods, getting self-righteous. Damn right. Maybe Corbin wants to bang Tate. I went there. Is this what ugly love is truly about? Siblings getting it on? Colleen Hoover, you dirty dog. Miles and Tate go home together. Miles smiles. That rhymes. All right, Shakespeare, calm down. Calm down, Colleen. You're no Rachel Oates. Miles smiles for no one else. Miles only smiles for me. I'm in physical pain. I'm in Spain. The S is silent. They kiss in the rain. It feels as if my heart and my stomach and my soul are all scrambling to get out of me and into him. If all my 23 years were laid on a graph, this moment would be the crest of my bell curve. I should probably be a little bit sad and disappointed about this realization. I've had a few serious relationships in my past, but I can't recall a single kiss with any of those guys where I felt this much. The fact that I'm not even in a relationship with Miles and I feel this affected by him should tell me something, but I'm too invested in his mouth to scrutinize that thought. You are in lust, you absolute freak. It's not love when she knows nothing about him. Don't even try to imply it, Colleen Hoover. You cannot fall in love with someone that won't speak to you, won't communicate, nada, nothing. They start to get on in the car. Please tell me you came prepared, I say, my voice already heavy with want. He shakes his head. Just because I knew I would see you tonight doesn't mean I came with expectations. I'm immediately filled with disappointment. He lifts himself off the seat and slides his hand into my back pocket. I did, however, come with a hell of a lot of hope. Christ, just say, yeah, I've got a Johnny. I scoot back to my empty seat. I scoot towards him. That sure is sexy imagery. They have sex in her car. It's not interesting. They have sex again at home. Thankfully, we don't have to read about it. Why don't you ever make eye contact when we're having sex? He pushes himself up and leans back against the headboard, staring down at his hands. People are vulnerable during sex, he says with a shrug. It's easy to confuse feelings and emotions for something they aren't, especially when eye contact is involved. He lifts his eyes to mine. Does it bother you? I'm shaking my head no, but my heart is crying yes. I'll get used to it, I guess. I was just curious. She needs to get a grip. I love being with him, but hate myself more and more with each new lie that passes my lips. Sounds healthy? One could say it's even ugly. Tate goes to talk to Cap instead because she thinks that she's in love with a guy who has zero personality. The chapter ends with Cap being so bored by Tate's problems and melodrama that he falls asleep. Seriously. Chapter 18, Miles. Rachel is pregnant with Miles' baby. They fight about it. They are keeping the baby. What are they going to tell their parents? Unfortunately, the chapter ends there, but at least we have something to look forward to. Chapter 19, Tate. Tate has zero personality outside of thinking about Miles, so that's some nice character development we love to see. It's game night. Dylan's eyes roam up and down my body, and I do what I can to stop myself from rolling my eyes. Future sex offender is there, but Miles is not. 100% guarantee that it will take something like Dylan being inappropriate with Tate for Miles to do something proactive about their situationship. A hand touches me on my lower back. I immediately smile and turn around to face Miles. Only it isn't Miles, it's Dylan. Hey Tate, he says, reaching around me to the cabinet. The hand that first touched my lower back is still on me, but now that I've turned to face him, the hand has slid to my waist. In the previous chapter, I didn't include it, Corbin said that Dylan isn't dangerous, he just doesn't respect his own marriage. Nor, clearly, does he respect the consent of women. It is a hop, skip and a jump from this behaviour to assault, by the way. But of course, Corbin justified Dylan. He's not dangerous, he's not dangerous yet. Miles is here to save the damsel in distress, and this will be seen as sexy, not formulaic. Miles slams the refrigerator and takes 2 quick steps towards Dylan. Dylan stands up straight, and I immediately scoot 2 feet away from him. Corbin specifically instructed you to keep your hands off his sister. Show him some fucking respect. Ah yes, of course. Corbin only cares about Dylan's behaviour in relation to his sister, but being a sex pest to anyone else is perfectly fine. It's like when a woman gets murdered in the news and you see comments on articles saying things such as a father to daughters or as a brother of sisters, because some men can only have empathy for women if they are in direct relation to them. Everyone can go to hell. My heart is pounding in my chest. I feel guilty that I gave Dylan the wrong idea, and even guiltier that they're arguing about it now. Shut up, Dillmat. Bella Swan moment. Even if she hadn't smiled at him and had been annoyed and reacted in that way, Dylan is clearly the type of bloke to ignore that and wear a woman down, like he's been doing this whole time. So what on earth is Tate feeling guilty for? I think it would be better for women in general if more female characters in media got mad about this behaviour instead of internalizing it as, oh, it's all my fault that that man is a sex pest because I smiled at him. I think it would just be better for everyone's collective self-esteem. Corbin returns and sends Dylan off home. Corbin is furious. Not that Dylan is a danger to women everywhere, just furious that he tried to fuck Tate. What an ally. Miles gets Tate to make an excuse so she can go to his. This behaviour is hilarious, by the way. He's seen how borderline incestuously protective Corbin is of Tate with any bloke to exist, but he's lying to one of his close friends to bang his sister. Amazing. Miles is actually the best character. I've changed my mind. Now he knows exactly how much I'm not Tate when I'm near him. I'm only liquid, conforming, doing what he asks, doing what I'm told, doing what he wants me to do. What nonsense is this? Colleen Hoover, you hate women. Get a personality outside of conforming to what a man wants from you. Loser. We're watching the game. He looks at Miles. She can use your place, right? The way Corbin completely trusts Miles, but Miles is destroying that trust without him being aware of it yet. I hoped at the time that he freaks out completely when he finds out, just to make this book more interesting. It's a bit anticlimactic. She goes to Miles. Miles thinks Ian is suspicious of the two of them. After the game, Miles finger blasts Tate, unfortunately not into oblivion. This isn't romance, by the way. This is just erotica with the vaguest of plots. Love that for Coho. They have sex on the kitchen table. When they finish having sex, he gets up, pulls out, goes to his bedroom door and slams it shut without saying a single word. Tate, you are basically a living fleshlight. Tate cries. I'm also angry because here I am, standing in his apartment, looking for my pants, trying to stop my ridiculous tears, still feeling the remnants of him sliding down my leg. She leaves. Chapter 20, Miles. Rachel is 3 months pregnant and they still haven't told their parents yet, despite the parents still being together. I wonder what my dad is going to say when he finds out about us. I wonder if Lisa will hate me. I wonder if she'll want to take Rachel back to Phoenix. I wonder how I can convince them that we've got this. He's only thinking about himself, obviously, he's a teenager, not the established relationship that he is going to destroy with this news. Because there's no way anyone would want to be known as the freaky family with 2 stepkids having a baby. Nothing else happens in this chapter. Chapter 21, Tate. Tate hasn't spoken to Miles in days. Never mind that he is the one who should go and speak to her and apologise for being so rude, because who does that. If any other man treated me like this, it would be the one and only time. I don't put up with the things I've seen a lot of my friends put up with. Oh, that's funny that she says that because she doesn't have any friends besides Cap and two people who are mentioned, one of whom is seen once, only to serve the plot to make Miles jealous. And then she doesn't have friends. Oh, I'm sad now. However, I find myself continuing to make excuses for him, like something could actually justify his actions last week. She's only 23. Forget about him, babe. Move on. I wish I told myself that at that age about at least 5 different guys. Forget about it, move on, have fun, what are you doing? She gets home one day and there's a note on her front door from Miles asking her to come with him on an errand. Just text her, you big freak, you have her number. I'm pissed because I already know I'll be going with him. I don't know how not to. She goes with him. He says sorry. She ignores him. He presses the emergency stop button in the elevator. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be forgiving him for. He never promised anything other than sex, and that's exactly what he gave me. Sex. Nothing less, and definitely nothing more. How is she justifying his rude behavior? Even sex with sex workers is less transactional than that. You don't just storm off without another word as soon as you jizz. You say, at the very least, thanks for that. See you later. At the bare minimum. Even one night stands have more companionship than that, right? Even if it's an awkward look. The next day. You can't just pull out and storm off and not say a word. Also, they don't have a pure friends with benefits situation because they've been hanging out with her brother and secretly acting coupley, and he was being all macho over her. They went shopping together and stuff, whatever. She can't excuse this behaviour, so by extension, neither can Coho. This time he touches my chin, lifting my eyes to meet his. The feel of his fingers on my face causes my jaw to grow even more tense. I'm doing everything I can to keep up my armour because I'm finding it hard to fight back my tears. Am I the only person who won't stand for this? If I'm mad at a guy, if I was mad at someone and they were trying to touch me to soften me up, I would go ballistic. And I have to ask that because this is so common in this genre of book and I hate it. It's always men touching women that are mad at them to try to wear them down. I don't like it. She of course gives in because you can change damaged men if you just persevere. I've never been inside his car before. I'm surprised by the simplicity of it. I know Corbin makes a decent amount of money and usually likes to spend it on nice things. This car is understated, just like Miles. I love the amount of description of said car, really sets the scene. The imagery is so vivid, it's like I just smoked DMT. I wish I was smoking DMT instead of doing this. I'm tired of the quiet and tired of the curiosity, so the first thing I say to him since he ruined me is, where are we going? So she's actually said, since he ruined me, at least 3 times by now. Imagine letting a guy with 0 personality have this much power over you. When I was much, much younger, I had this big thing for this guy who was the devil. Not really, but a little bit felt like that at the time. The type of guy who, when you tell your friends, they say, what the fuck are you doing? Block him. Genuinely. Not exaggerating that. For the purpose of this anecdote, some of my friends actually just wanted me fully to block him. The type of guy that you don't even attempt to start anything beyond sex with because you know it would be a disaster, but you still want to bang because they're attractive, right? Bearing all that in mind, morals non-existent, right, with this person. At least I can say he was so incredibly funny and charismatic that he had that going for him. At least I can say that about the men in my life who have fucked me around or whatever. Miles does not even have that going for him. He's not funny, he's not charismatic, there is nothing there. What on earth is there besides he has good looks? They are going to the airport, unfortunately not to fly away from this book and never to return, just to watch the planes. He reaches across the console and takes my hand in his. Mixed signals, mate. It's completely quiet again until we reach the airport. There are restricted access signs, but he passes them like he knows exactly where he's going. Well, he works there as a pilot, so I'm pretty sure he would know where he's going. Miles wants to talk. That was all me, Tate, he says firmly. Don't think for a second that my issues are because of anything you do or don't do. Then go to therapy and stop using her as collateral damage because you have issues that you won't face. Miles doesn't want Tate to have expectations from him and won't open up to her about anything at all. They fight and Tate gets taken home. Tate cries to Cap. Poor guy. He's not got much time left on this mortal coil and he has to listen to this rubbish boy drama. I wipe my nose again and drop the tissue, adding it to the pile next to me on the floor. I was being delusional, I say. I told myself I could handle it if he never wanted more. I guess I thought if I let him take his time, he'd eventually come round. See, I can fix him. I nod, agreeing with him. I do have a lot more important things to do in my time, but for some reason I feel as if Miles can see what a good thing he has with me. I feel like he wishes he could make this work between us, but something bigger than him or me or us is holding him back. I just wish I knew what it was. When people tell you who you are, save yourself some time and just believe them, and then block them, just to be quirky. Cap tells her a joke to cheer up. Knock knock, he says. I didn't expect his favourite joke to be a knock knock joke, but I play along. Who's there? Interrupting Cal, he says. Interrupt moo! He yells loudly, cutting me off. I stare at him, then I laugh. I laugh harder than I've laughed in a long damn time. You poor, poor girl. I just know there are going to be people out there who are going to say, the title is called Ugly Love. You're missing the point. Love is sometimes ugly. Go cope more. Go breathe in some copium. If you need to tell yourself that to justify why you accept men treating you as collateral damage for them working out their issues, breathe in that copium. She can't love him. She doesn't know a thing about him beyond the superficial. Get out of my face. Chapter 22. Miles. His dad wants to speak to them. I asked Lisa to marry me, he says. Lisa smiles at him. He smiles at her. Rachel and I aren't smiling. So we did, Lisa says, flashing her ring. So we did. Rachel gasps quietly. They're already married. This is delectable. This is delicious. I look at both of them. I ruin their day. Ruin. Rachel is pregnant. This is Jeremy Kyle levels of brilliance and drama.
1v1 me, I'll bloody wreck you, mate. Are you having a giggle, mate?
Eh?
My father stands. He's angry now. Who's responsible? He yells. He looks at me. Tell me who he is, Miles. What kind of guy knocks up a gun, doesn't have the balls to be with her when she tells her own mother? What kind of guy would let a girl's brother be the one to break the news? He's being really forceful about this, like, brother-sister stuff. I mean, they're step-siblings, but whatever. Miles tells them. His expression changes from confusion to anger. He looks at me like I'm not even his son. He's looking at me like I'm the guy who knocked up his new stepdaughter. He hates me. Well, you have just made the family into a circus attraction. Wait till the neighbours hear about this one. His father punches him and throws him out the house, but Miles goes back to make things worse. He hates me even more now. He wants to hit me again, but Lisa is pulling him back. She tells him they'll figure it out. She tells him she can get it taken care of. She tells him it'll be okay. It's too late for that, I tell Lisa. She's too far along. Time to leave the baby with the nuns then. Miles goes to Rachel's room and decides to stay home and then just lives at home. So, whatever. Chapter 23. Tate. I miss you so much, Miles. Thoughts like that are why I'm drowning my sorrows in chocolate. It's been 3 weeks since he brought me home. It's been 3 weeks since I laid eyes on him. Christmas came and went, but I barely noticed because I worked for it. 2 Thursday game nights that Miles didn't show up to. New Year's came and went. Another semester of school began. No, you miss the sex. You don't miss the brooding, never-speaking marble statue. Wrong book. Regardless, why do romance books conflate lust and love all the time? Coho, at least give us a bloke to miss in the first place. I already know it's not Miles, because the knock at the door belongs to Chad and Taryn. They're the only friends I made here, as busy as I am, and they're only my friends because we're in a study group together. Nice to introduce us to new characters 65% of the way through the story, don't worry, they're never mentioned again. Miles sees Chad going to Tate's apartment and gets upset by this. He's getting cucked by a Chad. Colleen, you sly devil. But because Tate is a simp, she feels guilty that Miles misread the situation and felt so hurt. So what? Where? Big deal. Hurt him. Fuck his best friend. Fuck Ian. Or worse, that Dylan guy. That'll show him. Please, none of you ever take my advice. I walk to the kitchen and begin making a plate of leftovers. There's no point in cooking since Corbin won't be home until late tonight. Before I finish adding food to the plate, the front door opens with a knock. Miles is the only one who opens the door and knocks at the same time. Why is he just going into her apartment like that? The sheer audacity of all of these men. Miles doesn't believe Chad is a study partner. It is literally none of his business. Then I yell at him. If I want to screw a guy in my bedroom for 3 hours, then good for me. You aren't at all entitled to have an opinion about what goes on in my life. You're a jerk and you have serious issues and I don't want to be a part of them anymore. OMG, a pair of balls. I hope it will last. His eyes are narrowed and his breasts are coming hard and fast. I bet they are. He drops his arms and walks swiftly towards me, grabbing my face, forcing me to look at him. Who are these men manhandling these women? He's hurting, but I don't know what the hell to do about it. Nothing. It's not your responsibility. Don't bother. In fact, what is with these romance books making sorting out men's issues the women's responsibility? Make me leave, he says, his voice pleading and warm against my throat. You don't need this. He's kissing his way up my throat, breaking for breath only when he speaks. I just don't know how to stop wanting you. Tell me to go, and I'll go. How about you control yourself, you massive freak? I turn my face towards his just as he's worked his way up to my mouth. Then I grab his shirt and pull him to me, knowing exactly what I'm doing to myself. I know this time won't end any prettier than the other times, but I still want it just as much, if not more. He pauses and looks me hard in the eyes. I can't give you more than this, he whispers as a warning. I just can't. I hate him for saying it, but respect it just the same. Fuck me, this is just self-inflicted problems, the novel. How am I meant to be compelled by people causing their own problems? Even in media that I like and enjoy, I find it really hard to give a shit if the problems are so self-inflicted. Maybe that's just a me problem, I don't know. Also, yeah, if you can't give her more than sex, then you cannot get mad if she were to shag someone else, because you're not exclusively hooking up. Are the live-laugh lovers who enjoy these books not ready to talk about women having multiple sex partners at once? They have sex but stare at each other whilst doing so. This is confrontation. This is a standoff. This is eye-to-eye combat. This is Sparta. This is a dare from me to Miles, from Miles to me. I dare you to try to stop this. We're both silently screaming. I do wonder if there are women out there reading these books getting horny. No shame. I think it's funny that I can just read this graphic sex, and be so completely detached, like I'm observing animals at a zoo. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. I'm going to say it. Sometimes I used to just watch random porn. Again, not for pleasure, nothing. Just I'm observing animals at a zoo. Does anyone else ever do that? Not anymore. Used to. Just, sometimes it's interesting, isn't it? I'm like, oh, okay, that's wow, that's so detached. I'm literally like a Bret Easton Ellis character. Not Patrick Bateman. I'm reading Less Than Zero at the moment. His the first book they ever wrote. I'm literally like one of those characters, just devoid of emotion and life. Miles, oh my God. I moan his name and God's name and even shout out to Jesus a couple of times. I'm sure Joshua H. Christ is thrilled by the name drop. He rolls onto his side and keeps his arm draped across me. We lie together quietly. Me, not wanting to admit that I just let him use me again. Him, not wanting to admit that it was more than just sex. Me, not wanting to admit that I'm doing this just for views. Uh-oh, drama alert, Corbin's home. Corbin nods slowly, letting it sink in. Do you love her? Miles and I look at each other. He looks back at Corbin as if he's trying to decide which one of us he wants his answer to please. I'm positive the slow shake of his head pleases neither of us. Are you at least planning to? Corbin asks. I continue to study Miles as if someone is asking him what the meaning of life is. I think I want his answer to Corbin's question more than Corbin does. Miles exhales and shakes his head again. No, he whispers. No, he's not even planning to love me. When I read that, I legitimately laughed. Self-inflicted, innit? Corbin kicks Miles out. Corbin pierces me with a stare as firm as his stance. You're not a brother, Tate, he says. Don't you dare tell me I'm not allowed to be pissed. He steps back into his bedroom and slams his door. I mean, no one would want one of their friends fucking around their sibling, leading them on, misleading, whatever. Mess them around. But Corbin's feelings come from this place of possessive ownership of a female relative. Probably because he unconsciously wants to bang her himself, but can never. Thank you for coming to my Freud talk. Freud. Because in Bill and Tate, they call him Freud Dude. No, wait. Which is it then? Oh, God. How to pronounce Freud. Freudian. Yeah, Freud. Because they call him Freud Dude because they're wrong. That's how I remember it. So it's the other one. It's Freud. Tate goes over to Miles' apartment despite him saying he will never love her. Pathetic. I just don't know how to deal with this thing between us. He steps closer to me and I stand up. He wraps his arms around my shoulders and holds me against his chest. I don't know an easy or even polite way to say this, but what I said to Corbin is the truth. I'll never love anyone again. It's not worth it to me, but I'm being unfair to you. I know I'm messing with your head and I know I've hurt you and I'm sorry for that. I just like being with you, but every time I'm with you, I'm scared you're seeing it for more than it really is. I know I should have some sort of reaction to everything he just said, but I'm still processing his words. Every single one of his admissions should be a red flag, since they were all also coupled with the hard truth that he doesn't plan on loving me or having a relationship with me. But the red flag doesn't arise. The green one does. Is it me specifically you don't want to love, or is it love in general you don't want to experience? The mental gymnastics here are alarming. Miles doesn't want love in general, but wants to bang Tate. She sees this as a good thing, despite thinking she has deeper feelings for this wet lettuce. Tate decides that her one rule is don't give me false hope for the future. Every time he bangs you, you delude yourself into hoping that he will change. And of course, by the end of the book, he does. I guess that's where the fiction part of these fiction books comes into it. People tend to not change for others. Again, this is anecdotal experience. People only change if they want to for themselves. One time, I was really into someone who was a serial cheat. So I knew I couldn't go there properly and do that to myself, right? And I was 22. It was quite smart of me. It hurt a little bit. It was quite smart of me to just not go there in the first place. They were like a few years older. But then he started dating someone. I'd never went there, never dated, because I knew, bad idea. And I felt regret and I felt jealous and I felt like, ooh, should it be me? Why didn't I do that? I should have da-da-da-da. And then he ended up cheating on that girl. So in my experience, people do not change for others. They only change if they want to. Despite being miserable at the thought of them not having a future, Tate lies to Miles and says it's fine. He laughs, probably because he knows the odds of finding someone who can put up with this kind of relationship, if you can even call it that, are extremely low. Yet somehow, the one girl who might be fine with it just happened to move in across the hallway from him, and he actually likes her. I want to cry at how low her self-esteem is. Want more for yourself. Again, I wouldn't care about this book if it was more like a cautionary tale of don't try and change people, don't bother with people who won't try and help themselves, you're 23, have fun, who cares, you can't change them. But knowing this book is telling teens, because it is teens that read Coho, because like BookTok and stuff, it is, right? And she's not marketed as dark romance, she's marketed as romance. And teens read it. This book is telling teens men who desperately need therapy are dreamy, just stick in there and you will change him. It's gross. It's gross. If there had been more media enforcing that it's okay to not try to stick around with someone forever if it's not working out, respect yourself more, I might not have ended up in half as many dumb situations as I have done in my life. Chapter 24, Miles. Somehow Miles is still living at home and his dad hasn't killed him yet. Rachel and Miles graduate. Miles gets them family housing at a university. I take Rachel's hand and we walk together to the living room and inform our parents that we're moving out together. Shit show. Chapter 25. As far as things with Miles, I'm the one doing the adapting. I've had to adapt to his rules because there's no way Miles is adapting to break them. I've learned to stop trying to figure him out and to stop allowing whatever. Woman bends over backwards for man who won't even tell her his favourite colour. The book. They have lots of sex though. I still never spent the night with him, and it still hurts sometimes how closed off he becomes right after it's over, but I still haven't figured out a way to say no to him. What? You're telling me he only shows interest when he wants sex and he couldn't give a toss when he's done? Where have I heard that before? And this is when I realised it. 50 Shades of Grey. Are you kidding me? Colleen Hoover. Is this just 50 Shades of Grey fan fiction, but one where Christian isn't even a billionaire, so he doesn't even have that going for him? She doesn't even get a free car out of being his living fleshlight? Are you kidding me? And 50 Shades of Grey came out first. So in my head canon, this is definitely fan fiction without the kink. Good Lord. By the way, as Miles is fully aware Tate likes him and wants more, if he had any human decency, he would stop these hookups. But he fully just cares only about having sex with her as if she doesn't have feelings. I'm sorry to break it to you fantasy lovers, but men who act like this don't suddenly magically care about the woman if you give them time enough. Enough time. Is Tate a nickname for something else? Miles asked me. We're not making out. He's just lying on me, asking me personal questions about my name, and I love it so much more than any other day we've ever spent together. It's the first time he's ever asked me a semi-personal question. I hate that his question fills me with these feelings of hope, and all he did was ask me if Tate was a nickname. The self-esteem genuinely is non-existent for her. It's embarrassing. Elizabeth Tate Collins, he says, making love to my name with his voice. My name has never sounded as beautiful as it did just now, coming out of his mouth. Disgusting. Outrageous. I miss Edward Cullen. I love my job, Tate. His fingers work on the second button on my shirt. I just don't like being gone so much, especially knowing you're right across the hall from where I live. It makes me want to be home all the time. I try to contain it, but I can't. His words make me gasp, even though it was probably the quietest gasp to ever pass anyone's lips. But he notices. His eyes meet mine in a flash, and I can see him wanting to backpedal. He wants to take back what he just said because there was hope in those words. Miles doesn't say things like that. I know he's about to apologise. He's going to remind me that he can't love me, that he didn't mean to give me that kind of inkling of false hope. Don't take it back, Miles. Please, just let me keep that. Is this a romance or a horror? It's getting sad at this point. We don't know anything about Tate outside of her infatuation to Miles at this point. So I'm left wondering what on earth happened to her in her life to make her so desperate for these breadcrumbs of validation. He slides his body on top of me and his kiss instantly becomes intense, deep, dominating. His kiss is full of something that's never been there before, full of feeling, full of hope. She is going round and round in circles. Is this fun for people? Is this escapism? Because I'm sure we've all been there, right? Liked someone else way more than they liked us. So why is this enjoyable for people to relive? Especially when those situations never seem to end with the other person magically falling in love with you. Or is that what people enjoy? That by the end of this, Tate will get what you never did? I'm stupid. I'm a stupid, stupid girl. There's that amazing self-esteem again. I mean, besides her brother and these new study group people that get mentioned once, Tate doesn't have any friends that she can talk to about this stuff, except for Cap. Her life is tragic. I used to call myself, I still do, stupid and crazy a lot, like a lot more, until one of my friends told me, how about you just try not calling yourself these things? Just try it. And it made me more mindful of the fact that I insult myself on the daily. Tate doesn't even have a friend to tell her that. I avoid looking at him until I'm fully dressed and slipping on my shoes. As much as I want to crawl back into bed with him, I walk towards the door instead. I don't turn around and face him when I say, see you tomorrow, Miles. I make it all the way to his front door. He doesn't speak. He doesn't tell me he'll see me tomorrow, and he doesn't tell me goodbye. I'm hoping his silence is proof that he doesn't like how it feels to be walked away from. I don't think he gives a shit, babe. Corbin argues with Tate about Miles. Miles has been nothing but honest with me about what he wants. He hasn't once fed me a line of bullshit. I'm the only girl he's been with in 6 years, and you're going to call him a hypocrite? Except those moments of acting coupley and acting with affection. Women, if you continue to defend the toxic behaviour of men, you give them even less incentive to want to change. We're not all ready to talk about that, are we? Miles comes over to just be more annoying, and Corbin just gets over it. Just like that. What an ally, heart eyes. Tate goes to bug Captain some more about her love life. I contemplate his answer, but it doesn't help much. I just don't see how love could get ugly enough for a person to just shut himself off from it completely. How are you this naive? It doesn't excuse the behaviour if you're hurting like someone else, but how are you that naive? Go read a book. Tate, he says. He's facing the door. He doesn't turn around to finish his sentence. Sometimes a man's spirit just ain't strong enough to withstand the ghosts from his past. He opens his apartment door and walks inside. Maybe that boy just lost his spirit somewhere along the way. He closes his door. Maybe he should go to therapy. Chapter 26. My room is Rachel's now. Rachel's room is my room. Why are you repeating yourself? The way Miles' chapters are written annoy me. They annoy my soul. Do you need ice? I get it for her. Do you want a cold rag? I get it for her. Do you want me to turn off the TV? I turn it off. Do you want another blanket, Rachel? You look cold. I don't get her a blanket. She's not cold. Why? I give up. I've had enough. Oh, she's gone into labour now, by the way. She's quiet. She never makes a sound. She just breathes. She's incredible. Why? Is she a Scientologist? It's giving Bella Swan not making a sound despite being in indescribable pain in her transformation. Just so she doesn't worry Edward. Like, what is this nonsense of women just having to be like shoulder the pain quietly so as to not disturb anyone's peace of mind? Shut up. Miles calls the boy Clayton after the teacher whose class Miles was assigned to take Rachel to. Chapter 27. Tate has pizza with Cap and talks to him again about boy dramas. So she does have one person to talk to, but God, give her a rest. I'm pretty sure he only thinks about me when I'm within 10 feet of him. Cap shakes his head. I doubt that. I bet that boy thinks about you a lot more than he lets on. I'd like to believe those words are true, but I'm not so sure they are. But if he doesn't, Cap says, you can't be mad at him for it. Wasn't part of the agreement now, was it? Oh look, shock horror. A man defending the bad behaviour of another man. The decent thing to do is to not continuously bang someone who has deeper feelings for you under the guise of it being just sex. It's not fair. I think that everyone knows that on some level. It's just called leading someone on. It's just leading someone on. He knows she wants more. He said, I can't give you more. She pretends to be okay with it just so they can have sex to try to get something more out of it. He is leading her on despite what the text wants us to believe. Miles isn't the one breaking rules or agreements. I'm the one with the problems in our arrangement, and that's no one's fault but my own. She's now gaslighting herself. I laugh, grab another slice of pizza, and wonder how in the hell I ended up with an 80-year-old man as my best friend. I at this point thought that he would die just to emotionally manipulate us, but I was wrong. A plane crashes and Tate's mum is scared that Corbin was flying because she can't get hold of him. Miles comes over to find out who it was. It wasn't Corbin or Ian flying. They have sex again. I fell asleep in my bed next to Miles. Neither of us has ever fallen asleep afterward before. One of us always leave. As much as I'm trying to convince myself that it means nothing, I know it does. Every time we're together, I get a little bit more of him. Whether it's a glimpse of his past or time spent without the sex or even time spent sleeping. He's giving me more and more of himself little by little. I can change him. Everything with Miles will come crashing down. It's hard for me to have sympathy at this point. I'm starting to understand just how serious he is. So as much as I try to protect my heart from him, it's pointless. He's going to break it eventually, yet I continue to allow him to fill it. Every time I'm with him, he fills my heart up more and the more it's filled with pieces of him, the more painful it will be when he rips it out of my chest as though it never belonged there in the first place. I'm beginning to get confused about the target audience of these books. I'm not 22 anymore. Shouldn't admit that, should I? Not that you can tell. I've had my heart hurt by men a few times in my life. But I'm old enough now to have had enough experience to know that you get over everything eventually. For teenagers, I imagine the idea of a broken heart is earth-shattering, breaking up with your first love or whatever. You can't imagine it until you do it. But I don't think Colleen Hoover is suitable for teens to be reading about because of the glorification and justification of toxic and abusive men, yada yada, we've been over before. So here's the thing. She's had this situationship for about 2 months now, and the thought of heartbreak is very painful for her. Realistically, it would be nowhere as near as bad as being with someone for, say, 20 years, having kids, and then they have an affair, yada yada yada. This type of heartbreak that Tate is afraid of having, guarantee everyone goes through, and you get over it eventually. It takes me like a week. She's 23. Go have fun, babes. Miles' dad calls him to make sure that he's okay. See, even he got over the impregnation of the stepsister eventually. Chapter 28, Miles. Their baby is being circumcised. Why? Religious propaganda. American propaganda. Chapter 29. There's a heated rooftop pool in Tate's building. 1%ers. She and Miles go for a swimming date. Miles enters the passcode for rooftop access and opens the door for me. I'm relieved to see that no one else is out here, and I'm taken by how breathtakingly beautiful it is. It's an infinity pool overlooking the city, and it's lined with patio chairs, all the way to the opposite end where it's capped off with an attached hot tub. Who are these people living these wonderful lives, but all they do is complain about relationship drama? Hold on. This book is just American made in Chelsea. Miles swims up behind me and cages me in by pressing his chest against my back and placing his hands on either side of the ledge. He rests his head against mine as we both take in the view. It's beautiful, I whisper. He's quiet. We watch the city in silence for what seems like forever. Every now and then he'll cup his hands and bring water up to my shoulders to warm my chills away, acting couply. Are you an only child? I ask, trying to see what I can get away with. Any brothers or sisters? He looks me in the eyes now. His lips are pressed into a firm, agitated line. What are you doing, Tate? He doesn't ask it in a rude way, but there's no other way his question can come across. What a winning personality. I can see why she's in love with him. Even Edward told Bella more about himself at this point. You know you're fucking up characterization when Edward Cullen seems like a gentleman in comparison. I don't know anything about him. I don't know a single thing about his family, and he's already met mine. I don't know a single thing about his past, but he slept in my childhood bed. I don't know what subjects I bring up or what actions I take that will cause him to close off, but I've got nothing to hide from him. He sees me for exactly who I am. I don't see him at all, but she loves him. As much as I know I've gone too far to continue treating this as casual sex, I'm also too far gone to stop it. I'm terrified to lose him for good, so I sound myself short and take what I can from him, even though I know I deserve better. This is just 50 Shades of Grey. I feel cheated at this point that I'm having to reread 50 Shades. I'm upset. Tate, he whispers. I know I'll regret saying this, but I want you to hear it. He pulls back just enough for his lips to meet my hair, then grips me tightly. If I were capable of loving someone, it would be you. My heart cracks with his words, and I feel the hope seep in and leak right back out again. But I'm not capable, so if it's too hard... It's not! I interrupt, doing whatever I can to stop him from ending this. I somehow find it in me to look in his eyes and tell the best lie I've ever told my whole life. I like things exactly how they are. He obviously can't believe that. He's willfully believing her just to keep having sex. Cap comes up to say that they look together and that's literally it. Why are you always so rude to him, I ask. Why do you like Miles if he's rude to your bestie? She keeps biting her lip and he's like, don't do that. A la Christian Grey. You cannot fool me, Colleen Hoover. I am one of 5 people who read 50 Shades of Grey in the past year. I know what I'm talking about. They go have sex again. Chapter 30, Miles. We're almost finished. I'm so happy. We're almost finished. Miles' dad admits that he and Miles' mother separated before he met Lisa. So they make up. Chapter 31. Tate is moving out. Which, why? Continue to live for free in your rich brother's block. They have a rooftop pool, for God's sake. Most unrealistic part of the story. Miles comes round. He mouths, you look pretty. I smile and wish more than anything that Corbin wasn't standing here right now because it's taking all that I have to not throw my arms around Miles and kiss the hell out of him. I feel sorry for you. Corbin knows why Miles is here. Miles and I just try to respect the fact that Corbin still doesn't like what's going on between us, so we keep it behind closed doors. 1 paragraph later. Fuck it, he says, gliding across the table towards me. He takes my face in his hands and kisses me hard in front of Corbin. He's kissing me in front of Corbin. I just realised something. He's so adamant he won't give Tate more than sex, yet he's supposed to be good friends with her brother. So he's willing to throw his friendship with her brother in the bin over just sex with the sister. Not love, not a relationship, sex. That he could theoretically do with anyone else who was willing. I don't know why I said this because this doesn't make sense. I must have been tired. It's like when people cheat and they say they meant nothing to me, as if jeopardizing an entire relationship over nothing is reasonable or justifiable in the first place. I don't know. Get a load of this crap. I haven't been able to think about anything else today, he says, at all. Why is your luggage out here? Miles pushes open his apartment door. I haven't been home yet, he says. He turns around and grabs his things from the hallway, then holds the door open for me. You came to my apartment first? He nods, then tosses his duffel bag onto the couch and pushes his suitcase against the wall. Yep, he says. He grabs my hand and pulls me towards him. I told you, Tate. Hadn't thought about anything else. He smiles and lowers his head to kiss me. I laugh. Ah, you missed me, I say teasingly. He pulls back. You'd think I just told him I loved him with the way his body tenses up. What absolute man-child. What is with these emotionally unavailable... Shut up. I'm hit by a reality check, but this feels more like a meteor. This man can't even admit that he misses me. Dump him. They start bickering, so he tells her to go home. Fuck you. I turn and exit the kitchen. When I reach the living room, I hear him come after me, so I speed up. I make it to the front door and open it, but his palm meets the door above my head and he slams it shut. What is with Colleen Hoover and men obstructing women from leaving apartments? It is her kink, I swear down. Also, he just told her to go home, but then he blocks her. Idiot. His face is right next to my ear, his chest pressed against my back. That's what we've been doing, Tate. Fucking. I made that clear from day one. Stop it, I'm swooning. I laugh incredulously, then get everything off my chest at once. There's a huge difference between fucking someone and making love. You haven't fucked me in more than a month. Every time you're inside me, you're making love to me. I can see it in the way you look at me. You miss me when we aren't together. You think about me all the time. You can't even wait 10 seconds to walk to your own front door before coming to see me. So don't you dare try to tell me you've been clear from day one, because you are the murkiest goddamn man I've ever met. And then everybody clapped. Anyway, Miles starts having a big boohoo. Chapter 32, Miles. They go from the home from the hospital. Thank you for this baby, she says from the back seat. He's beautiful. I laugh. You're responsible for the beautiful part, Rachel. The only thing he got from me was his balls. She laughs. She laughs hard. Oh my God, I know, she says. They're so big. We both laugh at our son's big balls.
I've had enough of playing games. Fucking hell.
They have a car crash and the car ends up underwater. Miles gets Rachel out. I can't breathe, so I just stop. Silence, 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 silence. Deafening scream! That, sure is a literary choice for this emotional moment. Deafening scream is how I felt during all of this. Oh, if I wasn't clear, Rachel gets out, Clayton the baby doesn't. I should have saved him, she's screaming, sobbing, crying, wailing. I hold her anyway. I let her hit me. I let her hate me. Rachel hates me. Thankfully, after that, the center alignment just stops. It took a family being torn apart for it to do so. A sacrifice we are all deeply thankful for. Stuff like this is just emotional manipulation. I'm going to say it. Sure, it's sad and tragic because an infant just died, but it's also easy to do that in a story. kill off someone vulnerable or innocent in a book for emotional ploy to draw emotions out of the audience. Anyone can do it. It's easy. I could do it if I wanted to, but I don't. It's superficially sad because it's so easy to do, and I'm not going to argue my point too much because I'm just going to end up in like some sort of bad rabbit hole, but it's just shallow because it's so easily done. And I can see how some people would think that this is too deep for me. I'm 14 and this is deep. If you don't read that many books, I get it. But I just think it's manipulation to make me not like Miles. And it's not going to happen. Ruined. I cry with her. I cry and I cry and I cry and I cry and we cry and we cry and we cry. Ruined. I also just don't think that this is effective at all. I'm wondering how I'm meant to take that seriously. Genuinely. Chapter 33. Tate. Tate decides that she doesn't want to know because Miles is so distraught. So they start snogging again, which like he is having a breakdown. He's crying and heaving. And then they have sex. When is that a response? When does this happen? I let him use me to get rid of his pain. Oh, what a martyr. He pulls out, then thrusts inside me again, this time with all his strength. It hurts. Give me your pain, Miles. Shut up. This wouldn't happen. Shut up. Someone did that to if some random off the street did that to me, if my partner did that to me and it hurt me, because it would hurt your bits. Be off me in a flash. Bam! How about that? I'm joking. Actually, no, they've hurt me. It's a free-for-all if they've hurt me. Anyway. Bitch slapped. Give me your pain, Miles. My God, Rachel, he whispers. My God, Rachel. That word gets put on repeat inside my head. My God, Rachel. I turn my head away from his. It's the worst pain I've ever felt. The absolute worst. I changed my mind. This is the best story I've ever read. Miles stops and apologizes, but he begins to pull out of me, but I tighten my legs around his. He sighs heavily against my cheek. I swear to God, Tate, I wasn't thinking about... Stop, I whisper. I don't want to hear him defend what just happened. Just finish, Miles. What? Again. What a martyr. This is some Bella Swan shit. She begs him to finish inside her. Have some self-respect, please. And then he actually does. We're both gasping for breath between our tears. It's intense. It's heartbreaking. It's devastating. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to read. It's over. Thank God for that. Tate leaves. Chapter 34, Miles. Rachel and Miles are both grieving. She does kiss me tonight, though. She kisses me and takes off her shirt. She tells me to make love to her. I tell her we shouldn't. I tell her we're supposed to wait for 2 more weeks. She kisses me, so I'll stop talking. She's kissing me like she loves me. I'm gentle with her. I go slow. Colleen, you've been pregnant like 4 times. Why on earth would you think this is a good idea to put in a book? A dude having sex with his girlfriend 3 weeks after she was in labour. You know, like they cut the bit of skin between your anus and your vagina to make it easier for the baby. And they'll do that with, I think I've mentioned this in the video before because it pisses me off. They will do that without your permission. So if you're pregnant and you do not want the doctor to cut that just to make it a bit easier for the baby, you have to tell your partner who's going to be in the room with you, because they won't listen to you. If you're on drugs or higher in labour, they will just... Maybe that's not always the case, but from what I've seen from people's recaps of them giving birth, you have to make sure that your partner will tell them to not do that if that's what you don't, because you have to get stitches down there. I read something awful recently. Apparently this is done sometimes in America, but it's a bit outdated now. Something called the husband stitch. When they're restitching your vagina up after childbirth, some doctors were adding an extra stitch to make your vagina tighter for your husband. And it would cause people massive pain when having sex. That is crazy. Anyway, this is just daft. Colleen Hoover, why did you put this in 3 weeks after labour, after having your lower body ripped open by a watermelon? And they're going to have sex. Shut up. She cries. Please don't cry, Rachel. I stop. She tells me not to stop. She tells me to finish. Finish. I don't like that word. Like this is a job. I kiss her again. I finish. What is any of this babble? You are not a martyr for jizzing, and she's not a martyr for letting you jizz inside her. Why are these women making him finish inside them when they clearly don't want to and he doesn't want to? But also, why is he agreeing to do it? What a shit show. The whole thing's a shit show. I just know that Colleen Hoover was sitting there in the edit like, oh my god, the parallels, ooh. But as if. Colleen Hoover, you are insane. And yet, at this point, I started to begrudgingly begin to respect the fact that she has monetized this madness. This book is trauma porn. All of her books, I've only read 3, are trauma porn. And she's monetized it. And I almost respect the hustle, even if it's just bad for romance and women everywhere. Rachel wrote Miles a letter. My mother has taken me back to Phoenix. We're both staying there. It's all too complicated, even between the two of them now. Your father already knows. Look, they ruined their parents' relationship too. Haha. That's the end of that. Chapter 35. Tate is still blaming herself for everything. She's moving out now. Miles couldn't give a shit. Chapter 36. Miles, present day. I want to, Tate. I want to love you so much it fucking hurts. Grow up and get help. But it's hard to feel bad for her because as much as she's hurting, she doesn't know pain. She doesn't know it like I know it. I keep pain alive. I keep it in business. I keep it thriving with as much as I experience it. Do you know what? We literally do not know that about Tate. We know so little about her outside of her fancying Miles or being a nurse or having one friend called Chad who showed up one single time. She could have a whole tragic backstory and we'd be none the wiser because characterization is second to trauma plotting for Coho. Clearly, Tate has some damage to even be bothering with Miles after he said another woman's name during sex. Something bad must have happened to her to have self-esteem lower than the ocean floor. Corbin punches Miles. It's the only interesting thing he's done in 300 pages. Miles and Ian argue. The only difference between Miles and Tate's narrative voice is Miles saying fuck a lot. All right, calm down, Smayer. When Smayer was writing Jacob Black and he didn't say fuck, did he? He said something. He said like bitch. Even Cap has a go at him. He pushes on the arms of his chair with his hands, repositioning himself. Some people, they grow wiser as they grow older. Unfortunately, most people just grow older. He turns to face me. You're one of the ones that has just been growing older because you are as stupid as the day you were born. Lol. Wow. Plot twist, Cap has known Miles his whole life. Okay. Even knowing that whilst reading all of that, it changes very little about the story. It's pointless. He's listened to me vent about the situation with Tate for months, always quietly sitting, patiently hearing me out, never giving me advice. That's what I like about him. This poor old man being the entire building's therapist, he should charge them all by the hour. They are rich after all. Cap tells Miles to go see Rachel and confront his past. He basically says, ooh, the past can hurt, but the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. Rafiki. Chapter 37. This is from Rachel's viewpoint. She has a husband called Brad. Brad, Chad. This book is so American. Where's Brody? Miles went all the way to Phoenix to get some closure. He smiles, but it's not the smile I used to love on Miles. This one is guarded, and I wonder if I did this to him, if I'm responsible for all the sad parts of him. There are so many sad parts of him now. She sounds exactly like Tate. And again, what is with like all the women in these books acting as though they are responsible for Miles's resistance to working on himself? Rachel has a baby called Claire and tells Miles about how she learned to accept love again. After a while, I began to notice that the good moments with Brad began to outweigh all the sadness. The sadness that was my life became the moments, and my happiness with Brad became my life. I feel him exhale, and I know he knows what I'm talking about. I know that whoever she is, he's had those good moments with her. What good moments? All Miles and Tate do is bang and be unhappy about it afterwards. Miles gets his closure. Swear down he was there for like 20 minutes tops. California to Phoenix is a 2-hour flight. At least stay for a cup of tea. Like, you're really telling me that it just took 20 minutes of seeing Rachel, having some words of her, for Miles to become unbroken. Like, no need for therapy. No need for just anything. Just that. Are you kidding me, Colleen Hoover? Also, it is not a woman's job to fix a man. Which is what's happened here, but whatever. Chapter 38, Tate. Tate has moved into her new apartment and one day finds Miles hanging around outside of it. I would literally call the police, but I have sense. Tate does not. Something is different. He's different. The smile on his face, the peacefulness in his eyes, the way he carries himself like he's floating. It's only been 2 weeks, but he looks so different. All of that from one trip and 0 therapy. Maybe he should have done this sooner. Tate, he whispers, I miss you. Whoa. I was not expecting to hear those 3 words, but they just became my new favourite words. I and miss, and you shut and up and Colleen. Colleen Hoover writes as though I'm so stupid my brain cannot retain more than 1 sentence at a time. If I was her audience, I would be insulted. Miles finally tells Tate about his baby and then starts exposition dumping about his life, so Tate is thrilled. It took everything I had to try to convince myself that I wasn't falling for you, Tate. Every single time I was around you, the things I would feel terrified me. I'd gone 6 years thinking I had control of my life and my heart and that nothing could ever hurt me again. But when we were together, there were moments I didn't care if I ever hurt again, because being with you almost felt worth the potential pain. This one is for all of the I can change them girlies. Just hang in there and get treated like shit for months on end. It will be worth it one day. Probably. I'm sorry it took me so long, he says with a voice full of remorse, but I'll never be able to thank you enough for not giving up on me. You saw something in me that gave you hope in us, and you didn't give up on that. And Tate, that means more to me than anything anyone's ever done. This is the wish fulfillment part. This is the fiction in fiction books. Turns out Corbin punched him again when he asked for Tate's address. Good for Corbin. Second most interesting thing he's done. Miles, I say with a smile, you're looking at me like you fell in love with me. He shakes his head. I didn't fall in love with you, Tate. I flew. I, when reading this, was in tears, pal. Absolute tears. If someone said that to me, I would call an ambulance, but not for me. Chapter 39, Miles. Miles is waxing lyrical about how much he likes to watch Tate sleep and eat her dead skin and keep her nail cuttings in a bag. But the second she opened her eyes and looked at me, I knew she was either going to be the death of me or she was going to be the one who finally brought me back to life. Teehee, it's okay if a guy messes with your head and gives you a complex where you continue gaslight yourself. It just means he loves you. Obviously. They've been together for 6 months now. They are flying with Cap because he's never been on a plane. This is just Christian Grey flying in his helicopter. You aren't slick, Coho. I get it. Miles asks Tate to move in. She says, hell yes. He proposes after 6 months of officially dating. Can you calm down? Her love is beautiful. She exhales a soft breath and leans in slowly, gently pressing. The center alignment is back with a vengeance. They start to have sex in the airplane whilst it's on the ground so they can't join the Mile High Club. Whoever coined the phrase, I love you to death, obviously has never experienced the kind of love Tate and I share. If that were the case, the phrase would be, I love you to life, because that's exactly what Tate did. She loved me back to life. The end. I am sickened. But it's not the end, it keeps going. Epilogue. I didn't cry the day I married her though. Her tears were falling that day, but mine weren't. She cried. Her tears were falling, but mine weren't. I'm convinced Colleen just thinks that this makes her book seem more interesting than it actually is. Of course, Tate gets preggers 2 years later and has a baby girl. My voice cracks. My face is covered in tears. Falling. Stop, please. I'm looking down at the perfection we created when it hits me. It's all worth it. It's the beautiful moments like these that make up for the ugly love. Wish I could say the same for this ugly book, because ending this video is beautiful to me, but it really doesn't make up for all of that. Finito. Finished. The end. Done. So, what did we think of that, guys? Do you think Colleen Hoover hates women? I don't know if she does, but I think I want to title this video that anyway, just for the sheer clickbait. What did you think of that? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know which Colleen Hoover book I should start on next, because it's fun for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. I have a podcast channel. I have a third channel. My New Year's resolution is to make sure that I'm uploading regularly on those. January is almost over and I've not done either of those things, but hey, that's my wish fulfillment. Make sure you check out my new merch at ayclothing.teammill.com. And thank you to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. And I'll see you guys soon. See you next week. Bye.